Looking to get a personal loan for that summer staycation or paying off those long overdue bills? Family Finance has got you covered. Apply for a personal loan from $1,000 up to $3,900 by calling Family Finance. Again, 475-4545, Upper Tumon at 647-5626 or in Dededo at 633-4473. Family Finance, serving the people of Guam since 1959.
I see it. Hey, great new takeout platters over at Applebee's waiting for you. Special number 1, special number 2. And we've got a couple of things going here. $60 family platter combo. We got your choice of boneless wings or mozzarella sticks, large house salad. And then you can choose from the platter. St. Louis ribs. They got a miso salmon, island pork chops, and pot roast. You want more? Salmon Alfredo. Put that in the meal plan. Why don't you? Find that today over at Applebee's.
Over the past 5 years, confidential data and network breaches have doubled for small and large businesses, resulting in huge financial loss. At GTA, our multi-threat security bundle is a cost-effective solution monitored by our team of experts, ready to detect known malware and stop new evolving cyber threats before entering your network.
Protect your business with confidence and call 671-644-1000 or visit gta.net/enterprise. GTA, we start with you.
6:34 or 6:35. I don't know. Not really paying that much attention to the time here. Otherwise, do need to let you know what's going to be happening on your roadways. Let me get this popped up on my screen, and it should be on your screen as well. Take a look at what's happening in traffic here this morning. And as I thought, not going to see a whole lot other than intersection traffic so far, and maybe a little bit of additional traffic over by the schools that we know are open, i.e. Dodea, i.e. Harvest Christian, etc. But don't see anything that's going to be slowing you down. Expect some delays over at the intersection of 1 and 3 because we've got schools back there up around the Central Tamuning, et cetera, where you're going to find the big elementary schools, GW, JFK, and GCC and all of those kinds of places that are back open for business here. And not a whole lot of traffic over at Big Navy at 1 and 2, but it will start busying up before you know it. It's 6:35. There's your right now traffic. This is The Point.
Go green, go solar, and save big with Nambo Insurance. When you power up your home with solar panels, Nambo Insurance will pay up to $350 toward your power bill. With Nambo, you can enjoy great savings while going green and helping to save Guam's environment. At Nambo, it pays to go green. Terms and conditions apply. Visit Nambo.com or call 477-9754 for details. Nambo Insurance, proudly serving Guam for over 50 years.
Need to finish the job or start one the right way? Get the right stuff at East West Rental Center. You can switch to easy mode using industrial strength equipment. With years of experience helping builders, East West Rental gives you exactly what you need. Tools for landscaping, concrete, lifts, trucks, tables, tents, chairs, water blasters, excavators, forklifts, air compressors, and more. Call East West Rental Center at 646-1463 or visit them in Upper Tumon. Open Monday to Saturday from 7 to 5, Sundays 8 to 5.
Guam Auto Spot has the best selection in Buick, GMC, Mitsubishi, and used cars like the 2021 Mitsubishi Mirage starting at $127 per paycheck. 0 down. Call 671-478-AUTO to take a test drive or get pre-approved online at GuamAutospot.com.
It's the Ray Gibson Show. Morning talk that matters. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
Oh, that's nice. You know, this is truly family. Even though I wasn't available on the Facebooks, I'm not sure about YouTube. That might be a weird kind of connection to make here this morning. But if I am there, great. James Howard says I am. I got Joanne with a picture of the kitty saying good morning to Real Joe and Mana. And I, isn't that nice? We're all back together again, 6:37 in the morning. And does that mean I've got an opportunity here to go and find out who is number one, even with all of the nonsense that we've had here this morning? Hey, look, it's me. Look at me. I'm here. I'm talking to myself on the internet. Hold on a second. I'm really thrilled about this, guys. I got Real Joe Cruz says I had 38 jobs. Thanks, appreciate that. But you can't count as number one. Martes Nuke is online. There's Living in the Pacific. Sarita Garin saying, welcome back. Well, welcome back to you, Pork Chop. Valerie St. Augustine Untalan got me worried there, guys. Don't. You know, what did you think? Did Adloop shut me down? You know, I thought so too. I think so. You know, you just never know. I just at some point, you know, with the way things are going in this upside down clown world that we're living in, you know, they talk like this, and anything that identifies somewhat conservative or anything that is right of center is going to be they're going to deem that hate speech. They're going to say that's seditious talk on the radio.
Racist,
My God.
man.
Exactly. Jimena Hessa is there. Jay Rojas saying, aloha.
Oh, mahalos.
Good to have you there. There's Gemma Bustamante saying, good morning, the Plank crew. Glad to see this up and running this morning. Have a safe and nice start of a Monday to everybody tuning in. There's the mom of the show, Pam Duvall, Jane Nauta, Catalina Pinal Rios is there. I got Bill Cruz. Thought I was booted out if I was going to be sick if I had no point. No, you'll be okay. Marie Remy Delgado Kamatsu is there. I see Henry Menglotnia. Charlie Robeson saying, half a day from Kennesaw, Georgia, where the Falcons finally won with a last-second field goal.
Wow.
I forgot there's football today. I've had so many different things going through my head. Oh, yeah, I guess there is some football. Lady D is online. Lou Mendiola is there, and I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other people. Do me a favor, since we got off on a late start, just hit the share button and share to your family and friends, obviously. But do me a favor, share on a couple of groups that you might belong to. And every once in a while, you know, it's obvious they do the Guam funny memes or, you know, Guam food or what are some of the other Guam groups?
Foodies.
The foodies,
Guam
yeah.
foodies.
Guam foodies, yeah. So definitely link us up on that. But, you know, if you've got some fun groups that you're likewise in, go ahead and stick us in there as well. I mean, just for, even like if it's a knitting circle or a drum circle or arts and crafts thing. Hey, it's 3D printers comes alive on Facebook. Yeah, go ahead and link us up in there and let everybody know that this is the spot that you get. Jerome says, relay a message to Jerry Roberts when he's on the extra point. I have his valuable assets being transferred to San Diego. Oh, his daughter, Penelope. Is she taking off?
I don't know, man.
Guam is less beautiful today if Penelope is not going to
Safe
be online.
travels.
Jose Martinez is back online. All is right with the world. Wait, we still have Adeloop. Yeah, that's true. What day is the governor taking the parents and kids' rights away? I don't know. I don't know what day that's going to be, but it's interesting.
Well, they have 90 days to come up with a plan.
Will there still be school in 90 days, or will something have come up to just go? We give up. We can't do it. We tried. We were going to send the kids back to school, and then we discovered that we still had like 200 teachers that didn't want to get vaccinated, and they quit. So, just never mind. We just treat everything since 2020 is just kind of gap years. Tell you what, we'll give you a voucher. We'll send your kid. We'll give you a voucher and pay for your kid to go to St. John's or Harvest or Cathedral.
Wow.
Yeah, Cathedral's not there anymore. But if I was the Archbishop, I'd reopen it. 6:41 in the morning. 888-255-888-TALK is the telephone number. I got some images of Pirates Cove coming up online here this morning, and this looks like this morning's. I might have laying around here is some pictures of Pirates Cove-ish area over the weekend. That's I told you I might do some camping over the weekend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there was camping. There was camping down there, and it was awesome. It was absolutely perfect, except for one thing: zero breeze.
What?
No breeze whatsoever. On the eastern side of the island, there was absolutely no breeze. It was okay. It cooled us down when it rained. Without the breeze, and then you went back to bed just all kind of chilled, but still in all a pretty awesome place to go and camp out, if you can find permission, et cetera, et cetera. 6:42 in the morning. All right, so items in the table of contents today. Who's quitting? Who's going to quit their... No.
Me and Mana.
No, you're sorry. Not allowed. Not allowed. She tried that one. She's like, do I want to turn? I turn in my resignation. I'm sorry. I do not accept your resignation. Oh, crap. I got to stay here then. Yeah. Anyway, so no. Who's quitting the deadline? All of everything for the schools and executive branch employees. Of which,
everybody. It's everybody today.
according to one of the newspapers, there's something on the order of about 400 in the government of Guam that missed the vaccine deadline. Didn't make it sound like they missed a flight or didn't catch the bus. Oh, they missed the vaccine deadline. They didn't miss anything, Jack. They don't want to take the vaccine, and they don't want you bullying them anymore. Is that too much to ask? And the idea that everybody that that is in these positions is immediately replaceable. What an insult! If I was a Guam employee,
because many of them were heroes just
a few months
just
ago.
9 months ago.
Yeah, frontliners, the heroes, and you got people that were handing out bags of food, and maybe people over at the emergency rooms and in the fire departments and in the police departments, and certainly in the schoolrooms. And remember what we asked of the teachers last year. Do you remember how all of that happened with the online learning and all of the other things and all of the encouragement that we gave to some of these people? And you get a few of them that have decided, for whatever their personal reasons are, that they're not going to get vaccinated, despite the fact that there's mitigation, despite the fact that there's plexiglass all over the place, and might not want it, might not need it, might not care for the idea, and that's their personal choice. Will those former heroes now be looked on the same way as I am, unvaccinated and unwashed?
Well, you can still wear your cape, but you're going to have to be tested, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Depends on what kind of testing it's going to be and when all of that starts.
Yeah, and from what I'm reading is that they have more testing sites, and a lot of them are in location. So where you work, you will have one of your coworkers be able to test you.
This sound like
reading.
This sounds like getting your confirmation from the Philippines.
Check me.
Doesn't it sound like, okay,
there you go.
I can't get my confirmation on Guam. I'm going to fly to the Philippines, and I'm going to go to one guy at the church and the Archdiocese of Malacanang.
1 hour confirmation.
Exactly, is going to get.
Hey, I did that.
I'm not what? And what was your experience?
It was beautiful.
Filled with the Spirit.
It was beautiful. It was at the church right next to Malacanang, by the way.
And I was going to say, I'm wondering where in the Philippines we could go, if we could go.
Yeah.
I mean, just here, let's go all of the fantasies all at the same time. If we could go to the Philippines, and if they weren't in crazy lockdown with the lady from the barangay slapping everybody,
and the whole
if they're
mass,
not wearing
the whole
their
service was in Tagalog. But you go to enough masses, you know what the service is.
stand up, sit down,
and you know what the prayer is at the time.
I'll bet they still say and also with you instead of and with your spirit.
Oh, yeah.
Instead, anyway, 6:45. But wouldn't that be something else? We'll go to the Philippines. We'll get our confirmation taken care of, and we'll go and get our vaccination cards. Because in fact, I'm sure they've already confiscated a bunch at the airport, right?
Oh, I'm
of fake vaccination cards.
Oh, man.
They're really, really good U.S. government grade stock paper with printing. Oh, they got the exact printing, and you can't even tell where they white snowpeck all of the information on the original cards to counterfeit those kinds of, because you just know it's all out there. 6:46 in the morning. On the subject of COVID-19, we got a special guest coming into the studio here, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Nathaniel Berg. He's Berg's number one. I'm delighted that he is there. I'm delighted that he's a part of the Physicians Advisory Group now. Its actual head. But I don't know that I'm beginning to see the impact of that kind of Berg common sense on things just yet, because it feels like you get somebody in here with real doctor stripes and everything. You get that feeling like maybe it's okay to loosen up a couple of the knobs here, but it doesn't feel like they're loosening. And with the idea that they're talking about potentially testing the kids in school, that feels like it's tightening it more, isn't it? Doesn't that get that feeling like? And I gotta read the regs here. Is this going to be one of those things where if the kids have access to vaccination, then they won't necessarily be part of that random culling, right? Yeah, I don't know. I'll take a look at it. Chingy Chingy is online. I see Auntie Bennett, like I said, Charlie Robinson. I have to be vaccinated by November 1st or lose the job. Held out as long as possible. I'm sorry to hear that, Brent. I was talking with a buddy of mine in the military, and he's kind of lawyering up because he's trying to get a religious exemption for the vaccination, and even though he's a buddy of mine. Devout, church-going guy, and he's looking at the exemption. But they're giving him some serious pushback on all of that. Pam Duvall says school's out forever. One of these days, there's still a mandate. The doctors need to put this gov in place. Haven't seen it yet. Dennis talking about the wankers losing a paycheck. I don't know which wankers you're talking about. You're talking about the unvaccinated, or you want some of the highfalutin wankers that we've got in this town? I wish I had money to take that daffy governor to court. Ex-Chingy wants to know, does anybody know what's up with the Social Security office? Are they even open? Are they open on a regular basis? Chingy,
Wow.
Bro, I think,
man.
bro, I don't know. I can't tell by your icon here. But I have had a Social Security card renewed or replaced since the beginning of COVID. So yeah, but here's the deal: you can make a phone call and you'll talk to a lady. Real nice lady was the one that I talked to, and she said, "Here's what you do: you take all of the stuff that you need, all your documentations, and stick it inside a Manila envelope, and come to the office." Okay. And then they told me where the office is, and you go up to this door, and there's no drop box there. You literally slip it through the door.
Wow, the jam. Huh?
The
The
jam. And
jam.
I think they took out just enough of the insulation, so it will go right through a little Manila envelope size deal. Now, the only thing I had was one of those big kind of floppy next day USPS bags, right? They're not like an envelope, but made out of that really good stuff. And so all of the stuff inside was kind of floopy. It was just kind of it was schwanging. And so to eliminate, I had to fold it on itself, but then it was too wide for the thing. Anyways, it was weird. I finally went to the car and got a chisel.
I want to see the
Yeah,
video.
I just made the hole a little bit bigger because I'm a handyman kind of
You
guy.
are. Good
so
with tools,
I did
Ray.
all of that stuff. Anyway, Berg's going to be in the studio, and I don't really know where the conversation is going to go. He's on the front page of today's Guam Daily Post. The risk score importance far lower than before. Oh. And didn't even wait till the sheets got cold, huh? Since Cabrera's out, car score? Yeah, we don't really need that anymore. We don't, car score. The governor's physicians advisory group, it says, is relying on it less when considering policy decisions to tackle the ongoing pandemic. Quote,
He can't figure out the math either.
nobody knows how to undo the spreadsheet. We can't find the formula in the spreadsheet. We had a guy that took a look at it. He tried to understand it and went crazy. It was bad. There is an absolute consensus in the governor's advisory committee that the car score doesn't mean the same thing, as it did before. Although we watch it, and it's a number we take into consideration, it's a completely different environment when the majority of people are vaccinated, because the illness rate of those who are positives is so much lower, and the degree of illness is so much lower in the vaccinated. But it's not useless. It's not useless. But its importance is far lower than it was before, and it has to be taken into context of the community where it's being measured. In this case, this is the only community in which it was being measured. So I don't know about the context. Just say it. Just say it, Berg. None of us were crazy about the thing to begin with. We're not crazy about it now. And since the guy that wrote the software isn't around, then we don't have to deal with it. But he also makes reference to complaints made, maybe even up to and including in this media. Yeah, when the governor, we opened the schools, yay, triumphantly in the beginning of August, and before the month was even over, they closed the schools, quote, for 2 weeks. Well, 3 weeks into that 2 weeks, they said, okay, we'll reopen, and then all of a sudden they changed their mind and said, no, we're going to close again out of an abundance of caution, and now here we are on the 27th, a month since we've closed the schools. I think it was a month ago exactly that we initially closed the schools. Here we are a month later, and we're moving into the cohorts thing. And there were, a lot of people that were unhappy with the on-again, off-again, on-again, off-again, and were critical about it. And so now Nate, in a position here to defend Governor Lulian Guerrero, says that that's not what we want. We don't want people to stick to their guns. We want someone who can move very quickly based on new data. So we have a lot of people who are taking up hospital beds, or if we see cases being traced back to schools, we want a governor who rapidly makes changes rather than someone someone who sits on data and says, I made up my mind and that's the way it's going to be. Nate, have you ever met the governor? Just asking. Ask her about the 5% BPT. That was supposed to be temporary, but she wants to hold on to that forever, and she made up her mind on that, and that's the way it's going to be. There might be a few other examples of some back and forth that we've seen, none of them off the top of my head right now. But it becomes one of those things where, I get it. I want somebody that can move with some degree of alacrity. But it seems to me I'd like more to be. And we'll talk about this with Berg later. For me, it comes down to what are we doing with the data? We still don't, that I know of, have a whole lot that goes back to the schools. So why are we at the schools as tamped down as tightly as we? I don't think that we ever needed to shut them down, did we? Number two, now that they're reopening, I don't know why we need to go back to the cohort deal. I'm not nuts about that, but I guess I guess sometimes I'm in the minority because I think that there are a lot of people, and we see them on Facebook, where somebody will talk about screwing things down around here even tighter, and then that's followed by calls from people that want to lock the island down for 2 weeks. Everybody stay home, close down the airport, nobody come in, nobody go out. We'll just let this thing. We'll lock down 2 weeks. That's all it's going to take. And none of them seem to remember when we did that. To flatten the curve a year and 8 months ago. Or was it a year and a half? I don't know, 18 months, whatever the number turns out to be. 6:54 in the morning. So we got that coming in a little bit later on in the broadcast. Number of other items in the table of contents that will be fun here. Like I said, my friend Lee Weber writes in today's Guam Daily Post.
Our friend?
He's our friend. Says, hard news reporting needed. And then he goes on talking about the Fourth Estate and watchdog groups and things like that, and how there just doesn't seem to be any more of this going on. For years, the Fourth Estate served in this capacity, but in recent years, they've chosen to act more like entertainers than watchdogs. They've allowed themselves to become slaves to the other official branches of our government by simply following along, being led by the nose via press releases, and not doing their official investigatory work as designed within our original system. And he's OG. This guy used to run a newspaper here. In far too many cases, they've acted as little more than shills for their elected or appointed handlers in the dissemination of information to the public, rarely digging deeply into what they have been told. Part of this is assisted by those former news reporters turned political lackey and gone over to the dark side. This act of switching sides leaves younger and less experienced reporters who may have formerly looked up to them as bosses or counterparts at their mercy, accepting news releases rather than digging for the truth. And then he goes, then there's Candid News, who, in this writer's opinion, at times is more of a revenge seeker than a news reporter. That said, Candid generally digs deeper than any other so-called news organization, but also mixes entertainment with their reporting. Again, confusing the public. The cold, hard fact is that you cannot cast yourself as an entertainer and a viable hard news reporter in the same breath. Somewhat like Ray Gibson and other talk show hosts, they are purely entertainers. Not in any way, shape, or form are they news reporters. Trying to cast themselves as both only confuses the listening and reading audience. We've got kind of a pact here, a little bit of a bond and understanding, I think a mutual understanding between all of us here. I have never suggested that I am a journalist. I'm a guy from the village with an interesting job, and that interesting job is to talk about my observances being a guy that's born and raised on Guam and looking around at things. Do I talk to newsmakers on the radio? I absolutely do. Will I fish for information that I think is of interest to me as a taxpayer and maybe interest to you as a taxpayer, and likewise somebody that lives here on Guam. But somebody, I can't remember whether it was a PDN or the guys over at the Post, very accurately portrayed me as a radio personality. That's what I am, and that's what I do. And sometimes the personality issues that we step into are largely news-based, because that's where the fun stuff to talk from comes from. Things like the Guam Daily Post and the Pacific Daily News and the newsrooms over at KUAM and the PNC, and many run by people that I know and have a degree of affection for. But having said that, yeah, Lee, you got me in a box. And if at any time you or anybody else is confused as to whether I'm an entertainer / personality or journalist, well, it's like Dylan, Real Joe. We all got a tranny friend out there somewhere, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing. If I'm with one of my tranny friends, I always refer to her as her because that's usually the way they're dressed up.
Yes.
When he's dressed up as a guy, it needs a him, and we go play ball, and here's pool and whatever, right?
James knows.
It's all James who?
James Howard. Shout out, bro. I mean, girl. Whatever.
Whatever it is today. But that's the way it is. If you think I'm being a journalist right now, then great. If you think I'm just being an entertainer right now, then that's great as well. But now I appreciate Lee Weber giving me an opportunity to talk about that and the background of it all. 6:58 and change. Going to try to get Fox News Live. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but with the crash and burn of some of the systems around here, it's been kind of dicey getting to Fox News, but I think we've got a link up that will work, at least while we're live here on the radio. On the other side of whatever comes next for 5 minutes, Monica Tyron will have a look at all the big news and headlines that we're going to be talking about here on the radio. She, on the other hand, as it turns out, actually has got a reputation well-earned and hard-earned as a news person, as a news gatherer, and somebody that knows how to ask a hard question when the need arises. Nobody even sends her press releases, guys. It's just like, because they just know that's an open invitation for her to go for the throat. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. The radio station's KUSG, getting you 93.3. The Point. We'll take a look at what's happening in traffic. Jerry Roberts and the Monday version of the Extra Point is coming up before you know it. Dr. Nathaniel Berg in the next hour of the program, and more of whatever it is that you are tuning in here for on the way as the Ray Gibson Show continues.
Busy weekend on Capitol Hill. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says a vote could come as early as tomorrow on the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill, and she expects it to pass. Pelosi also plans to pass President Biden's $3.5 trillion Build Back Better social infrastructure package.
I promised that we would bring the bill to the floor. That was according to the language that those who wanted this to be brought to the floor tomorrow wrote into the rule. We will bring the bill to the floor tomorrow for consideration. But you don't ever bring a bill to the floor that doesn't have the votes.
Pelosi on ABC's This Week. Republicans say the larger bill is excessive. Congress also has to vote to raise the debt limit before Friday. Mourners attended a memorial service on Long Island, New York today for Gabby Petito, whose body was found a week ago in a remote part of Wyoming. Gabby's father, Joe Petito.
She was great. I mean, it didn't matter. She always wanted to go out and do stuff, whether it was scuba diving with her, with her uncle, myself, or hiking the Appalachian Trail.
Authorities continue a nationwide search for Petito's boyfriend, Brian Laundrie, who's a person of interest in her death. CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky says it's still being weighed whether COVID-19 booster shots will be recommended for more of the population.
We are meeting, every several weeks now to evaluate the science. The science may very well show that the rest of the population needs to be boosted, and we will provide those guidances as soon as we have the science to inform them.
The CDC recently recommending a third dose of the Pfizer vaccine for those aged 65 and up, people with underlying health conditions, along with those in high-risk occupational or institutional settings. America is listening to Fox News.
Half a day, this is Honey. Here at APL, our expertise and extensive network can help you grow your business and reach out to more global markets. As a responsible carrier, APL is also committed to a sustainable future, whether it's protecting the environment or investing our efforts in giving back to the community. Our dedicated teams in Guam, Saipan, and on U.S. mainland are here to support you. Call 588-4651 or visit apl.com.
mashed avocado. Try your favorite sub on the new breads like the hearty multigrain wheat or the artisan Italian white bread. Not to mention Subway's thicker, juicier steak. That's all I have time for. You gotta refresh to be fresh. Only at Subway.
The CIA has recalled its Vienna station chief after allegedly mishandling the so-called Havana syndrome.
The CIA recalled the Vienna station chief over his mishandling of new cases of Havana syndrome, a mysterious set of brain-altering ailments thought to be caused by a directed energy weapon being used to terrorize American diplomats and spies. The first cases were reported 5 years ago in Cuba.
The attacks continue. People are really getting hurt.
Mark Polymeropoulos, a 26-year veteran of the CIA, was forced to retire from overseeing clandestine operations in Europe. He was targeted during a trip to Moscow in 2017 and began having debilitating vertigo, dizziness, and nausea.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon. Former President Trump has endorsed former NFL player and Georgia GOP Senate candidate Herschel Walker. Walker talked about the endorsement on today's Fox and Friends.
Well, it's very important to have the endorsement of President Trump because I think President Trump knows that I can get the job done here in Georgia.
Walker is looking to unseat Georgia Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock. The Tony Awards will be handed out tonight. Fox's Michelle Polino with a preview.
Audra McDonald will host the 64th Annual Tony Awards from the Winter Garden Theater beginning at 7 p.m., streaming on Paramount Plus. Then it goes over to CBS, and Leslie Odom Jr. will take over at 9 Eastern for the night's second half, a 2-hour celebration of the Great White Way that will include special performances from the Tony nominees for Best Musical, Jagged Little Pill, Moulin Rouge, the musical, and Tina, the Tina Turner musical. Jagged Little Pill leads the nominations with 15, followed by Moulin Rouge with 14. Slave Play, a play exploring the relationships of interracial couples, has 12. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News.
It's a takeout platter special for $50 at Olive Garden. The special comes with breadsticks and house salad. Your choice of appetizer, fried mozzarella, or spinach artichoke dip. Platter choices include lasagna classico, chicken parmigiana, 5-cheese ziti al forno, chicken and shrimp carbonara, shrimp and bacon rigatone, and chicken alfredo. For the $50 takeout platter special, call Olive Garden at 989-0008.
Wow, nice smile. So perfect and all.
Thanks. I owe it all to Dr. Robert Yang and his smile team. They do wonders for a healthy, happy mouth.
Got teeth? Don't wait until they hurt. Schedule your routine checkup and cleaning with Dr. Yang and his smile team. Suite 119 in the East West Business Center, Upper Tumon. Call 647-8702 or 3.
The best thing that happened to teeth since toothpaste.
Dr. Yang and his smile team.
They make smiles happen.
Here at Guam Auto Spot, we have the best selection in Buick, GMC, Mitsubishi, and used cars. Like the 2021 Mitsubishi Mirage, as low as $127 per paycheck, 0 down. Or this 2021 Buick Encore, as low as $237 per paycheck, 0 down for 72 months. Call 478-AUTO to schedule a test drive or get pre-approved online at guamautospot.com.
Half a day at 7:06. I'm Montesova Tyron with a look at your local news on the point. DOE schools are back in session following their cohort plan that will split students up throughout the week, and this will allow for safer face-to-face learning. The cohorts, according to Board Chairman Mark Mendiola last week, is not intended to be a permanent fix. It will allow for 5 days of instruction to occur over a 2-week period with students divided into 2 cohorts, A and B. What's also in the works for public schools when they head back is a plan to conduct random COVID testing amongst the school population. Over the weekend, Public Health came out with their guidance that would require DOE put together a plan to implement screening and testing for COVID-19. According to this guidance, 10% of the students will have to be randomly tested for COVID-19 every 2 weeks. This was a stipulation that the governor put in her executive order that schools, in order to be reopened, would have to follow public health guidance. In the memo, schools will have up to 90 days to begin administering the random test once plans are approved for implementation. Consent forms for screening and testing will be provided to parents and guardians. Public health also requires schools to conduct daily screening for symptoms among the students, teachers, and staff to identify those who may be contagious. Schools shall also adopt a testing strategy that provides tests on a regular basis, most especially for students, teachers, and for staff who are not fully vaccinated. Also today, the government of Guam begins enforcing the vaccination requirement amongst the public sector workers who were given until September 24th to get vaccinated. The Guam Daily Post this weekend reported that there were close to 400 workers who've not been vaccinated as required by the governor. It now means that those employees will have to submit to a COVID test in order to be allowed back to work. The governor's spokesperson told the Post that 89% of GovGuam's line agency employees were fully vaccinated as of Friday, and 92% have had at least the first dose of the vaccine. Tracking of the testing will be done weekly by each agency. Now, those who don't get fully vaccinated, they will have to also undergo a weekly testing or face disciplinary action. Meanwhile, the crackdown at local bars and restaurants and other establishments under the governor's executive order also begins today. Staff of these establishments are required to provide proof of vaccination or submit to weekly testing. Public Health has stated that employees can apply for religious or medical exemptions. However, none of the applications submitted have been approved so far. Also, the Guam Hotel and Restaurant Association, they've responded to the executive order by partnering with American Medical Center to offer weekly rapid testing for $25 per employee. According to the Joint Information Center report this morning, there were 95 new cases of COVID-19 out of 529 samples that were taken on September 25th. More results will be reported today. As of this morning, though, our tally is at 14,374. There was also an additional 31 new cases reported on Saturday. We'll have more news right after this.
Need to finish the job or start one the right way? Get the right stuff at East West Rental Center. You can switch to easy mode using industrial strength equipment. With years of experience helping builders, East West Rental gives you exactly what you need. Tools for landscaping, concrete, lifts, trucks, tables, tents, chairs, water blasters, excavators, forklifts, air compressors, and more. Call East West Rental Center at 646-1463 or visit them in Upper Tumont. Open Monday to Saturday from 7 to 5, Sundays 8 to 5.
The governor's hoping to win the approval of the Department of Interior. She sent a request for $3 million to fund plans by the Army Corps of Engineers for a new medical campus. The governor has met with the Army Corps to discuss assistance that could be provided for the construction of the new public hospital. Meanwhile, the Department of Education typically conducts their job fair late in the summer, but because of the school closures, they were forced to push back the event. The superintendent, John Fernandez, says that they are still planning to push forward, possibly by the early part of October. The Guam Daily Post reports that there are 63 teacher vacancies and over 100 one-to-one aide positions to fill, as well as other key positions in their central office. And they announced their closure back in November, but popular local restaurant Linda's Coffee Shop will be reopening soon. On their Facebook page, a new-looking logo stating the reopening soon. It didn't state, however, when they will be reopening. They did say that it is in the same location along Marine Corps Drive in East Agana. Those are your top stories here on The Point.
Let's just go today.
I know.
Let's just go and wait.
Down.
Okay, what you think you're going to open
chicken?
today? Is can I just stay here and drink beer in the parking lot? Come on, like the old days. You know they got a bench in the back. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a secret location. It's 7:11 in the morning. Did you ask for weather? Am I supposed to do weather? All right, let me see if I can scare you. It's going to be nice in the next couple of days here because the crappy weather is following, and I can get it up on the screen. I wasn't able to do that last hour, but I can get it up on the screen in this hour so you can see where was it there? There it is, ladies and gentlemen. I give you Minduli.
Wow.
Look at that monster. Now you're wondering where Guam is. Guam is actually, the pointer is right off to the side of where Minduli is. It's right off to the east of that thing. But otherwise, this thing looks like a monster. Nice circulation system going. This is what we wanted to avoid on Friday. This is if it had looked like this on Friday, then I think we would have gotten our hair missed in this storm. But in this case, it looks like it's just going to be doing some organizing and going and molesting somebody else out in the Asia Pac. So that's what we've got. At least leaves behind some decent weather for us for at least a couple of days. Partly cloudy and isolated showers, and maybe on some variable winds today, about 10 miles an hour this afternoon, and later around after midnight tonight. We've got daytime highs 86 with a heat index that will feel like 94. Early sunrise this morning at 10 after 6, and sunset tonight it's going to be at less than a quarter after 6. It will be at 6:13 p.m. tonight, and maybe with a whole lot of partly cloudy out there, maybe we'll be in line for a gorgeous sunset, because we sure didn't get one last night. 7:12, 7:13 or so in the morning. That's news and weather together on The Point.
Over the past 5 years, confidential data and network breaches have doubled for small and large businesses, resulting in huge financial loss. At GTA, our multi-threat security bundle is a cost-effective solution monitored by our team of experts, ready to detect known malware and stop new evolving cyber threats before entering your network.
Protect your business with confidence and call 671-644-1000 or visit gta.net/enterprise. GTA. We start with you.
Choosing health insurance for my family is difficult. I need to know our health insurance will protect us now and in the future. Take Care members have access to the island's largest offering of free fitness classes and health education programs, and a high-quality credentialed network of on- and off-island healthcare providers, including the convenient one-stop FHP Health Center and urgent care. My family choose Take Care. Your family should also consider choosing Take Care. Call 671-647-3526 for more information. Take Care. Our island, your health plan.
You know, sometimes you just get that craving for KFC, and you're going, yeah, but I don't know if I want a whole bucket. Get the bucket. Get the bucket. Get it. Put it, whatever you don't eat, stick it in the Ziploc bag and just leave it in the fridge. It's good. It will, trust me, it will keep. But maybe some of you are going, you know, I've got the craving for KFC, but I kind of want it in a bun. Do we have something like that? Yes. KFC has a Kentucky Fried Chicken sandwich. And I've had several already. It's KFC is a go-to anyway because I got one right near my house. But the other reason is because I can generally count on the quality of the flavors and something I like that's going to get stuck in my mouth, like this KFC chicken sandwich. It's got crinkle cut pickles on the bottom of it. And that's just more surface area for flavor, don't you know? It's got the KFC's mayonnaise in it, and then a quarter pound of delicious, moist KFC fried chicken breast. And then they crown the whole thing, and then you take that and you go and enjoy that. That just made your life, just hearing about it, made your life better. Imagine how much better it will be when you try it at KFC.
Rediscover talk radio here. It's the Ray Gibson Show. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
I'm not a journalist. I never said I was a journalist.
Are you self-attesting?
I'm self-attesting that I'm not a journalist. I don't know if at any time, but there was a time, I went to, when I was a student at the University of Guam.
Oh, you went to UOG?
This is a long time ago. Yeah. When I was a student at the University of Guam, I'll tell you how long ago it was. They had like a A building and a B building, and then there was the admin office. Yeah, that was it, baby. That was the whole business, and they had a bunch of these little houses over at Dean Circle, and in one of those little offices at Dean Circle, I took a journalism class. And really enjoyed the journalism class, and then I found out what journalists make. And I said, Dr. Guthertz, do you have any openings over there? I'm serious now. I'm using all the real names. Dr. Guthertz, I want to say Chillingbamba was there once upon a time. And I said, you guys got any openings? No, who am I thinking of? It'll come to me in just a second. But there was a whole mess of other things that I could do. So I went and jumped into business and with a focus on marketing. And I really enjoyed that. Now, I could have gone in anywhere else, but the reason why I went into marketing was because a couple of really cute friends of mine from JFK were beginning to explore that as well. And I thought this will be fun. We'll have field trips and study parties, and that's the way it worked out for me in my 21st year at the University of Guam. So no, I never bothered with the journalism thing. I've always been played a guy on the radio. So it's an interesting conversation that they're having on the Facebook, Daily Post today in Lee Weber's column. I told you earlier I was going to read to you from the Department of Public Health and Social Services applications. They do have, finally, the application forms are out there. And if you are apparently, if you are claiming that you are getting exempted because of bona fide religious beliefs, apparently they will accept it. However, you might need to have some kind of paper backup. The church is not going to give you any letters to attach to your bona fide religious belief exemption form. But I believe if you bring last week's umatuna, if you bring last week's umatuna, that will be sufficient to clear you for the exemption. Okay, so you got to be a kid from around here from a long time ago to understand what that is. The umatuna, for those of you that don't have the privilege of being born around here and being a Roman Catholic simultaneously, the umatuna is the magazine that was published by the diocese, and it's available at every Catholic church every Sunday morning, or was for years and years and years.
To grab one right when you walk in.
You grab the umatuna either on the way in or the way out. They didn't want you grabbing it on the way in because they figured you were going to read it while you're supposed to be watching what's happening up on the altar. So you always grabbed a copy on the way out. Now, that was what we referred to as evidence. That was plain and clear evidence to my grandmother, my grandfather, or my mom and dad that we actually attended Mass, that we were actually there. But every once in a while...
Except on Ash Wednesday, you had to come back with...
I always asked what the gospel was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always got.
Who is the priest?
What's the homily, boy?
But if you look on the WashingtonPost.com, there's a pastor who will sign a religious exemption for vaccines if you donate to his church.
Okay with me.
Yeah, this is the Sheridan Church.
But
run
again,
by Pastor Jackson Lammeyer.
It's not a Guam name. Never mind.
No.
You can feel free to mispronounce
but you can go to his church online
and make a donation, and he will give you something that will you can attach to your bona fides. Now, for his medical exemption, it will ask you your name, date of birth, place of employment, temporary medical exemption or permanent medical exemption, and please indicate which vaccine the medical exemption is referring to: Pfizer, Moderna, or Johnson & Johnson. Is it possible that your doctor may let you out and say, okay, you can't take any of the vaccinations? I'm not recommending you take any of the vaccinations. Or he might single out one or two that say you shouldn't take. But my guess is if he leaves one of the check marks open, then Art St. Augustine is going to make you take that one, whether you want to or not. Please describe the patient's contraindications / precautions here, and it will give you a space for the licensed physician's official stamp and contact information. I'm assuming that any doctor that I go to has said stamp, that they've got something like that. Real Joe, are you familiar?
Yes, sir.
Jerry Roberts, have you ever had a piece of paper stamped by a doctor?
No.
Mara?
It's their signature stamp.
Yeah. On the prescription, they have a stamp. For
it's an official stamp. It's guarded, obviously, and it has the name of the clinic, and then the doctor will sign above it.
Okay. Because it's also then asking for the physician's signature, Guam medical license number, and the date, and then whether or not it is approved by Robert
So when you
Leandro.
get a paper prescription, they usually stamp your prescription with that.
I forget. I rarely ever read that part.
Doctors always used to write it out.
No, I'm just that's the thing. What I look for is when they give me the actual prescription bottle, if it has the droopy eyes on it.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one.
Heavy machinery.
Or the one that says the alcohol should be avoided. I like that. There's permission still.
That's the good one.
That's the good one. You don't want the one that says
the tape
no alcohol. You want the one that says should be avoided. That's the one I like. Jerry? Land of Sinners. Welcome to the Land of Sinners. Jerry Roberts is in the studio right about now. 7:21. We're going to have to go first. Dr. Berg's going to be coming in on the other side of Montecillo Tyrants News. And I got to say, thanks very much. So the meatloaf that you brought.
I need the knife and the thing back so I can get back in the house.
I'm going to ask Kevin where he put it because Kevin he had hands on last.
Oh.
So what Kevin missed, he didn't know that was impossible meatloaf.
Oh, he didn't.
He did not
nice.
know that it was impossible meatloaf.
Yeah.
And I said, "Did you like it?" He says, "Oh my God, that was great." And he was talking about the flavors. He says, the ground beef was absolutely perfect flavor, matched up real good with the ketchup and the Tabasco. And he liked the idea that there was the egg inside and all of that stuff. And I said, that was made with impossible meat. And he had that look like he was going to fall off the chair. You've got to be kidding me. And the answer is no, I'm not kidding you. The impossible meat has fooled even you. And he knows his way around the kitchen.
They are foodies. They do the Denancy and the other.
Yeah, he's a foodie guy. So
she made two more over the weekend.
Wow.
And the one last night was even juicier.
Oh.
Than the first two.
So
that was really good.
I just kept pounding it down last night. Wow,
What's interesting to me is you sometimes you get
and it's fat free, right?
I'm not sure. Maybe. I don't think it's fat free.
Probably a lower fat.
Maybe lower, but it's low carb.
And then you throw all the other stuff in it that will help make it that much more healthy. But really, now Jerome McDonald.
Yep.
Had reached out a little while ago and told me to pass along a message to you.
We got
you got it. So Penelope is in good care.
Yeah, Jerome.
No, wait a second.
Stand-up guy.
Who let her leave? No, you did. This is. She's a beautiful young woman, and now she's left the island. Is this permanent thing, or until?
She has 3 boys in California.
Okay,
so she's going to go visit the boys for a while.
I got you. All right.
She'll
eventually come back. It's not one of those things, and you got to wait until Jerry Perez sounds the all clear and says the tourists are coming back. Your job is waiting for you.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that.
We got another member quote of the Point family that has taken off in a little bit, and it has to do with inability to get the kind of medical care that she needs for her daughter here. So it's a real sad story. 7:23 in the morning. Jerry Roberts in the studio. Nate Berg is going to be joining us in just a little bit. But now I suppose we ought to jump into, if we can, the extra point.
If you want to.
Well, it's either that or I'm going to waste more time talking about. Okay, this will be of interest to you. All right, just real quick. On the numbers on the market, S&P 500 up by 6, NASDAQ down by 4, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the only thing to do anything by way of double digits, picks up 33 points, but not a whole lot. Nikkei up by 609 points. I've got my fingers crossed that the numbers in the Japan market are signaling maybe an unraveling of their pandemic emergency. It's supposed to be today that they start taking a look at prefectures and getting out from under the pandemic emergency in Japan. And that could spell some decent news for Guam, depending on just how much they unravel and where in the source markets of our source markets they are going to be unraveling. 724. But I was looking at the other numbers. We like to look at commodities. Joe, you're Joe? Real Joe?
I am Real Joe,
sir. Do we have a Bitcoin number?
Good morning to you. 43,663.
43K for Bitcoin.
Yes, sir.
All right, on the commodities, West Texas crude went up to $73.98. For context, last Friday it was $73.24. Also, for context, last Friday, Tapas, the kind of oil that turns into the gasoline that goes into every car on Guam.
Except for the ones on the military base.
I think they're still Tapas.
Are they still? I thought they were West Texas.
They price based on the gasoline that comes from West Texas.
Okay, well.
The price is from there. But so Tapas now was on Friday $75.54. Today, $77.46. It leaped up $1.92 over the weekend.
But they missed it. Friday at 10 o'clock, they didn't change.
Oh, yeah, Friday at 10 o'clock is see that little date line, that little bookmark, that's only you. You're the only guy.
I'm the only one.
You're the only
but
one.
It's happened so many times.
Felix was the only one using the car score. Nobody's using it anymore, and you're the only one that says at 10 o'clock on Friday is when they change the price.
Gas guys, save me here. Don't go up until at least Friday.
But then they'll go up double. Then they'll go up double to make up for what they lost. Anyway, 726, Jerry Roberts has got the extra point here, brought to you by Guahan Insurance Services and everybody at First Hawaiian Bank.
And first, I wanted to say for Jerome McDonald. Just a fabulous guy,
isn't he?
Yeah, he's really helping us out, and but we've seen he's a regular listener to the point, a regular contributor, and appreciate you a lot, Jerome.
So he's back in California because he's been.
He's back in California with his family, and he posts a lot of things on Facebook of him and his granddaughter, and things like that. So we see him a lot.
Yeah, good man,
good guy. If I asked you whether you are playing the short game or the long game, what would you say? Well, we'll talk about what the long game is about. That's coming up next on The Extra Point.
Raise your glasses for a toast because First Hawaiian Bank now turns your meals into a reason to celebrate. Every dollar you spend on dining purchases, including fast food, earns you up to 3 times United miles. Simply use your First Hawaiian Bank United credit card and start reaping the most rewarding credit card experience on island. Terms and restrictions apply. Don't have a First Hawaiian Bank credit card? Visit any branch or FHB.com to apply today. With First Hawaiian Bank, it all starts with yes.
When's the last time you looked at your homeowner's insurance?
We buy a homeowner's policy and never give it another thought until something happens. Life brings changes, and our coverage needs can change. The smart thing to do is get the answers and level up our insurance to make sure we're totally protected.
That's the Insurance Extra Point. Get out there and make something good happen today by calling Guahan Insurance Services at 475-1162 or visit us at the Camacho Landmark Center in Tamuning.
Before we get started, let's address something important. A lot of people listening right now are out of work or are partially employed. Some may have a business that is struggling, or perhaps you've already had to close your doors. Whatever the issue, I recognize there are people who will say, long game? I'm just trying to survive and keep my family fed with a roof over my head. Along with that, Guam's economic outlook is uncertain. Our 2022 tourist arrivals are projected at less than 10% of what we would normally expect pre-COVID. If the virus loses steam, as some experts believe it will, we'll do better. If there are more variants and continued restrictions, then we're going to do worse. Okay, the long game. Author Dory Clark, whom I'm familiar with from conferences I've participated in, argues that mastering long-term thinking is an essential skill for getting ahead. She says too few of us do it, and I agree. So how do you and I train ourselves to be long-term thinkers? Clark says there are 3 key components. Number 1, the first part is what she describes as clearing enough white space so you're able to think about the future. It's not that we be overburdened with this extra thinking time, but too many of us jam up our schedules with things outside of work and family responsibilities, and there's little room for reflecting on what we want. And I get it. This isn't always easy. However, to go long in our thinking, we need to carve out some time for it. Number 2, part 2 is to focus on what matters most to us, not to others, or what society says is the right choice. What do we want? Can we list it? If I ask you to write down about where you want to be in 10 years and to describe your career then as well as the rest of your life, could you do that? You think you could? Could you describe in detail the steps that you took to get there? Number 3, the final part of the 3 components is to never give up. If you've ever taken a long car trip in the mainland U.S., you know that once in a while, you're going to hit a detour or encounter rough weather. It's the same with long-term goals that we develop with our long game thinking. We're going to be challenged by rejection, failure, people blocking our path, and other obstacles. Nobody likes this or wants this. A 10-year plan may take 12 years, could take 15. That's okay, so long as we keep our eyes on the prize and stay focused on the long game. There are stories of people who saw a long game goal and wanted it and didn't let anything stop them. The girl who dreamed of being a doctor but couldn't afford medical school. She studied to be a nurse but never gave up on her dream. 15 years later, she fulfilled her goal and became a family doctor. The baseball player who wanted to be a major league manager after his playing days were over. It took him 10 years of coaching and managing in the minor leagues. One day, he hit his goal. One person who played the long political game, really long, lost 8 elections, but never quit pursuing a path to serve in public office. First, there was a loss for a seat in the state legislature. Next, it was a defeat in a bid for the U.S. Congress. Then, a loss for state land officer, another for the U.S. Senate. This candidate was also rejected for the nomination of vice president at their party convention. And 2 years later, another loss in a run for the Senate. However, this person played the long game, and 4 years after that, became President of the United States. You might know that I'm referring to Abraham Lincoln. Are you playing the long game? Would you like to? We'll have more on this topic tomorrow. That's the Extra Point. Be responsible and make something good happen today. For 93.3, The Ray Gibson Show, Guahan Insurance Services, and First Hawaiian Bank. I'm Jerry Roberts.
All right, we know how I got into the long game when I worked for Lee Holmes?
Yes, sir.
All right, so here's my version of the long game. When I got there, virtually all of the veteran employees that worked at Lee Holmes in the newsroom looked at me and said, "Oh, you're that punk kid from 610. You ain't going to last a month." And I outlived every single one of them. I said, "Oh, is that the challenge now?" All right. So I wasn't supposed to make a month. I was with Lee for 13 years, and then the other long view was I remember when Rex Sorensen finally was able to hire me. A lot of differences on the numbers, guys. But when he was finally able to hire me, I said, "Okay, for that kind of money, you're stuck with me." And I was with him for 17 years. And it's been 5 years now at this place. Of course, I'm a managing partner, so you get a little bit of a longer-term view doing it that way. But for some people, that's what it takes, is a little bit of a challenge and a little bit of a nudge from somebody who said, "Nah, you don't got what it takes to stay in this company." "Oh, yeah? Well, let me prove you wrong."
There you go.
It's 7:33 in the morning. Jerry Roberts and the Extra Point here. I got a note while you were talking. I'm sorry, normally listen to every word that you're saying, but I got a note from Lee Weber, and he sent me there's a meme floating around on the internet, and one of them is President Joe Dementia saying, "Oh, my popularity is increasing. Lots of people want to have sex with me," and then there's Barack Obama leaning in saying, "That's not what they mean when they say blank Joe Biden." That maybe you've seen that meme before,
Yes.
but it gave me an opportunity to tell Lee Weber, "Thanks for the plug." He says, "Thanks for understanding the difference." I said, "Look, you spelled my name right. That's all that counts in the world of media." He says, "You and Troy do good work." Good enough, Lee. Good enough. It's 7:33 in the morning. Jerry Roberts and the Extra Point. Montesilva Tyron now has got to look at what's happening with news and et cetera, compiled from a variety of locations, but inimitably performed by her. Being brought to you by the guys over at Burger King. Monday, last one in September. So I don't know if we're going to be able to do. Is there still enough time for an I Love the Whopper Wednesday between here and the end of I believe there is. So that's good news. Otherwise, you got to check out the Garlic and Bacon King that they've got out there for you at BK locations and drive-thrus all over the island. Also being brought to you by Ken and Karen over at Top End Pest Control. And maybe you can be close enough to them to find they're so good. They posted it on Facebook and in Instagram. And it was a picture of a couple of lovely steaks that they had on the barbecue grill.
Ribeyes.
Yeah, only 2. There was
not invited, Ray.
Not sufficient for Ken and Karen, Ray and Joe. Just saying. And I'll tell you what. You include Real Joe and I to the invite list, and Real Joe will bring beer. How's that? Huh? You like that? And it's also brought to you by Auntie Lolita Camet over at Remax Diamond Realty. Are you in the business? Are you thinking, hey, might now be a good time to buy a house from somebody that's leaving Guam because the economy's not coming back fast enough? Give her a call at 68. Did I put too fine a point on that, didn't I? Sorry, guys. 688-6743 is her telephone number. Montesilva Tyron, Hava, what happened?
Well, DOE school kids are back in session today following their cohort plan that splits the students up amongst the A and B cohort. DOE's board does say that it's not intended to be permanent. It does allow 5 days of instruction to occur over a 2-week period. Meanwhile, buses also say that they're ready to transport students to and from the schools. What's also in the works, DOE's planning with public health on implementing their COVID testing that's to take place according to their recent guidelines that was issued over the weekend. The government of Guam will be also enforcing the vaccination requirement amongst their workers beginning today. Those workers were given until September 24th to get vaccinated. Otherwise, they'll have to submit 2 weekly COVID testing. Staff of private sector bars and establishments and other establishments under the governor's executive order also to be vaccinated or get tested, and that starts today as well. The Joint Information Center reports 95 new cases of COVID-19 out of 529 people tested. It was also reported on Saturday there were 31 new cases reported. And those are your headlines right here on The Point.
All right, go ahead and bring him in. It's 7:36. Dr. Nathaniel Berg joins the program next.
BK's new Garlic and Bacon King is now available. 2 quarter-pound fire-grilled beef patties topped with creamy mayonnaise, smoky bacon, 2 American cheese, and crispy garlic pieces on a warm toasted sesame seed bun. Make this a meal with French fries or onion rings and a refreshing Coca-Cola. Get your hands on our new Garlic and Bacon King for a limited time only. Burger King, Agutya, Tumon Bay, Micronesia Mall, and the airport. BK your way. Top End Pest Control is who you call for all your pest control needs. Got a problem with roaches, ants, spiders, rodents, fleas, ticks, termites? No problem. They do it all. Top End Pest Control is a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business and HubZone certified. Serving Guam since 2012. Call them today for a quote, 487-5657, or email topendpest@gmail.com. Check them out on Facebook at Top End Pest Control and give them a like. Top End Pest Control for all your pest control needs.
Becoming a homeowner can be a scary process, but it doesn't have to be, especially if you have the right guidance. Break through your fears and go to a real estate professional that will ensure a higher chance of success. That person is Lolita Kamet of Remax Diamond Realty. Lolita also specializes in commercial leasing, land sales, local residential sales leasing, and military and corporate relocation. Don't be afraid. Call Lolita Kamet from Remax Diamond Realty at 688-6743. That's 688-6743.
7:38, Ray Gibson Show, 93.3 The Point. My name is Ray. Thrilled as usual to be here with you. And thanks very much, Mono, with the news. We'll jump into another conversation real quick with Dr. Nathaniel Berg, and it was the chairman, I believe, if they do titles, over at the Physicians Advisory Group. He's one of the guys that's leading that charge. Good morning. Nice to see you.
Good morning. Nice to see you both.
Good. Well, it's good to have you back here. It's a great way to start the week because I think there's a lot of questions that are floating around here, and we've got new guidance on a new subset of policy that the public health is pushing around with regard to the testing of kids in schools, and based on my read of the reaction on social media, many parents are not wild about the idea of testing the kids in the schools. We'll touch on that for a couple of minutes, but one of the first questions when I started talking about you coming in was from a couple of listeners asking, there's a division, a conscious decision to divide, because that's the way it is, vaccinated versus unvaccinated individuals. I am an unvaccinated individual. Mona Silva Tyron is a vaccinated individual, and if we were going to get together for a family dinner, it would either have to be at my house or we could go to a restaurant, but I can't go in. Under what circumstances does that change? What is your understanding? I mean, at some point that's got to sunset. We can't always be vaxxed and unvaxxed.
No, I 100% agree. And I think let me address that broadly first, and then with some degree of optimism. Broadly speaking, it isn't an us and them. It isn't a division. It's our entire community, all of us on Guam, working together to get through this pandemic. It means respecting individual rights. It means allowing that, although you are not vaccinated, allowing me to encourage you without feeling that I'm threatening you, in a sense. At all, I should say, because as a physician, we feel that it's best to give people informed choice. It's not a mandate from that you get vaccinated, but there are restrictions, as we've talked about before, and there is no great comparison. Saying, well, smokers are allowed to smoke, but they can't smoke in restaurants. True, but they're allowed to work.
Yes.
Right? So the restrictions are more serious because the feeling of public health in general, the public health world, if you will, is that to get through this, we need to slowly, the disease is going to affect the entire community at some point. And so we want to have that not happen in a manner that threatens our healthcare system, and that's been our focus. But it doesn't mean that we infringe upon the individual liberties of every human being in this country to make that decision for themselves and for their kids. So that's the first thing, is it isn't an us and them. And I assure you, in every discussion I've ever had with the governor, she has never, nor have the people of public health, expressed a desire to chastise or otherwise say negative things, if you will, about the unvaccinated. So I want to make that really clear. That
well, when they say it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated, even though I don't think there's anything that supports that, I think it's a pandemic of poor lifestyle choices and the unhealthy. I think that's more better description.
I think you're right. But I think they're also saying that the understanding that the term the pandemic of the unvaccinated is not meant to be a judgmental term. And I think it has been turned into one. And I wish there was another way to say it.
Yeah.
What we could say is that every day when we go through the numbers, if you will, because every morning there's a meeting where we're provided with all the numbers from the hospital and from public health, how many people are admitted, how many people are in the ICU, how many people are ventilated, are on breathing assistance of some sort. It's always that there are, with very few exceptions, that the sicker patients are the unvaccinated patients. So that's what's meant by it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated, meaning that the unvaccinated are and again, I got to make sure I'm not putting judgmental things in here. So I'm going to be super clear, because on paper it might look different, but I think people can hear from my voice. It's that those who are unvaccinated and do get COVID and do get into the hospital take up an enormous amount of resources that could otherwise be used to help the entire community. That doesn't mean we don't care about those people. We care equally about those people in the same way that we care about smokers who have cancer. But if everybody was vaccinated, every single adult in this island was vaccinated, we would have a different picture, because the majority who are vaccinated are the ones who are taking up the ICU.
But there's already a pretty solid majority of people that are vaccinated here on Guam. Where was the herd immunity that was supposed to come with that that number?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
That's right.
So the herd immunity is a variable term, meaning that there are some viruses, bacteria, or other infectious agents, what have you, that at a relatively lower rate, the virus, or in this case virus, dies out. It doesn't have an ability to jump anymore, meaning that, for example, with polio, you have to have a very high number of people with other conditions, which are in the 80%, 70% is good enough, because they may not be that contagious. In this particular Delta virus, it's extremely contagious. So with the previous non-Delta variant, we probably were basically at herd immunity and having very little exposure. But now, and as we saw, things were getting better and better.
Yep.
But now, with this Delta virus, it's changed, because the same number of people are vaccinated, but this thing spreads like crazy. So that's the issue, is that's why the vaccines, which we know are not perfect. We know that people, as I said, there are exceptions, but those exceptions, those are in the ICU, tend to have without exception, all of them who are vaccinated and end up in the ICU so far, or recently I should say, have had significant other, what medically we call comorbid conditions. They've had uncontrolled diabetes, severe obesity, or some other thing. So that's why we're encouraging people, whether vaccinated or not, to take this time to reflect on the need to focus on better, as you said, better healthy lifestyle. So you are correct in that those who are very healthy do much better. So,
well, the point is, in nomenclature, words are important. And while you don't ascribe any kind of ill feelings with language like the pandemic of the unvaccinated, and it was about a year ago that we were all chastised. We're the vectors, not the victims. It's those kinds of words. The messaging obviously is unclear to many people that are listening to the broadcast. At any rate, one thing is, because you said we'll address the question broadly and then more narrowly, and you said that there was reason to be optimistic.
There is.
When we start looking at things of a narrow scope, and you've got some data.
Well, also here on Guam, but I also want to say, if you look outside, and it's not published necessarily in the local papers, but Norway, for example, just completely opened, has no restrictions whatsoever on COVID, and said, yes, we have it, but it's under control, and enough people are vaccinated that we don't have to have any restrictions whatsoever. Denmark lifted every restriction except for public transportation. Holland has lifted the vast majority of them. And people chastise me sometimes and say, oh, we're not those places. And I say, well, we're another community. But if we continue to do what we're doing, we will see what I think has been a general stabilizing. I'm cautiously optimistic. The numbers are coming down. The number of deaths, the number of ICU admissions, the number of hospitalizations, in conjunction with, I think, these high rate of testing. And that's where I'm saying the part of what I'm saying when I say it's a community fight, that we have to do this together as one community of Guam, which means to get tested very early, or if you think you've been exposed, so that you can be isolated. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that we have so many people who are having to stay at home. It's affecting businesses. It's affecting healthcare. But if we can slow it down, keep it where it is right now, we're doing okay. Not perfect, but we're doing okay. The numbers are not overwhelming the hospitals. They're packed, but not so horrible. It's not great. I don't want to paint a great picture, but I'd say please keep coming in and getting tested. And those who are not vaccinated, including yourself, I would say I would encourage you to think about getting vaccinated so that if you do get COVID, this is the reason why. If you do get COVID, you won't spread it as much, meaning we do know that if you have been vaccinated, your viral load, the amount of virus that you have in you is lower. The vaccine helps you to fight that, and you're less likely to spread it. Again, total freedom of choice. There's no judgment in that. I'm just saying, particularly if you have vulnerable people at home, including children.
I have a cat.
Your cat is
it.
And I hope you care about that cat.
7:47, Dr. Nathaniel Berg in the studio. All right, given your time availability, we spent too much time on that, so let me run into a couple of other places.
Sure.
We've got monoclonal antibody transfusions. We've got the centers that are setting up. We can take X number of patients a day, and they're beginning to ramp up even higher for that.
Yeah.
So I threw out a hypothesis last week was maybe I'm going to go find somebody that's got COVID-19, get it from them, then go to the transfusion center and get the monoclonal antibodies in my system to help fight the COVID-19 that I get. Then I would be immune from having had COVID-19.
Interesting thought. Well, I will say that there is...
See? 0 years of medical school. I just watched a lot of Scrubs,
I was
okay?
gonna say, have you seen our advertisement for a new research advisor at GRC? No, so so here's where there's some discrepancy in opinion, but those who have natural immunity are very likely to not be able to shed the virus nearly the same as those who don't. It's a little too early to say that with extraordinary confidence, but probably. But we think it's worth getting the vaccine because we see it as not a dangerous thing. And so we're saying even if you have been exposed, you should get it so as to avoid that risk that maybe this is not something that provides long-term immunity. That is the natural immunity. So if you got COVID and
I'm putting my faith in God.
Yeah, that's good.
And
and it's probable
autoimmune system that He gave me.
And it is probable that natural immunity will turn out to be very effective. Probable. Not all viruses provide that, but probable. And it's just too early. But if you were to get COVID, so you would. So as long as you didn't get sick, you would have benefit from immunity from that. If you were to get the monoclonal antibody treatment, you're incredibly unlikely to get sick from it. But I wouldn't risk it because there are a small number of people who, for unknown reasons, when they get COVID, have a very rapid decline. So, yes, if I knew the exact date that you got it and gave you the monoclonal antibody, I don't know, though, if you would develop the immunity.
It's a little bit of a Frankenstein thing going around in your head now, isn't it?
Yeah, but you might not develop the immunity if we were to treat it immediately with something that grabs the virus, if you will.
Right.
I don't know if you would develop the immunity.
Timing is everything.
Yeah.
Timing would be
so
everything.
You might want to stay really well, wait a few days, then get it.
But the other point of the question is that we are rolling out the monoclonal antibody treatments.
It's really important, actually, that there is actually a treatment for COVID right now if you catch it early enough. I need to make it incredibly clear that you cannot wait until you go to the hospital because it's not approved for hospital use, and for good reason. The sicker someone is, they can actually make it worse. If you come in very sick, you need hospitalization, or you need supplemental oxygen, you cannot get the monoclonal antibody therapy.
Yeah.
I think really, I want people, our community, to listen to that. If you're counting on being able to get treated, you're taking an enormous risk because if you suddenly deteriorate, which we all know, probably many of us have friends and relatives who've had that happen to them, that they looked great and then suddenly didn't. Thus the dead on arrivals that we were seeing. If you wait too long and you need oxygen, which happens all the time in COVID, not all the time, but too frequently, and or you need to be hospitalized, you cannot get that treatment. So you have to present early. And we've been emphasizing that, and the community's been listening. If you notice over the last 4 or 5 days, there have been no dead on arrivals, right? We have a stabilizing, if not slightly lower number of people in the ICU and number of hospital admissions. We think that's because people are coming in for treatment early. That means that supportive care, that they might need some oxygen, they might need IV fluids and maybe antibiotics because they got bacterial infections too, that they're getting out of the hospital sooner, and people are helping us as a community to fight this by coming in earlier.
Well, I hear where you're headed, and I appreciate the sell. It's not working yet, but in my heart of hearts, there's some moments where I sit back and think there might be some things I'm missing out on that I have been denied because of my unvaxxed status. And as we say, the question at the end of all of this is it comes down to metrics. In today's Guam Daily Post, you were being quoted as saying we're just not using that much anymore. The risk score importance is far lower than before, having much to do with the current landscape and the current numbers that we've got right now. I don't know that there was anybody that was very serious about the what I refer to as the Cabrera score for the last year and a half. We had this thing down into we have different names for it. The Cabrera score, and the whole number was a full Cabrera. What did we do for the other ones?
A fell.
A fell. We did a fell. So a tenth of a Cabrera was a fell. Yeah, for Felix. But anyway, so that's how we had a good time with this. What metrics are the Physicians Advisory Group looking at now? And let's try to be, I'm not going to say that we need to get out of this thing as Denmark and Norway did. I'd like to see something like that. But are the numbers, what metrics will we use to guide the decision to end the public health emergency?
Okay, so I wish I could
that's a term paper.
It is. I wish I could give you one or two things, but I would say every morning we look at the number of positives per test. We look at the number who were ill and admitted, were brought to the emergency room, that get admitted to the hospital, that are in the ICU, that are on ventilators. Those all we review every single day and look at trends over daily, weekly, past few days, what have you. We also look at the number of vaccinated individuals, which I want to thank everybody for coming out. There are hundreds a day who are making the choice to get vaccinated. And I don't say late or too late. It's the right time for them. There's enough information for those individuals, and I'm hopeful that will continue. So we look at those numbers, and then we also look at clusters. So the Department of Public Health looks at people who are positive. It's an impossible thing to contact trace every single human being that gets.
There was a COVID-19 app that everybody was touting, and they decided that they had great success in it, and very rarely talk about it anymore. And I know people that have gotten COVID-19 and were never given a number to put into their COVID-19 app so that they could alert other people that maybe they should get tested. So somebody got to put some fire on that. If that was going to be a great savior for contact tracing, that should be looked at.
It is good. It is a good thing. When people come in to get tested, we have them download it through a QR code. Yeah. But that's actually, I think, a very good point. And maybe I can ask somebody, no, not maybe, I can ask someone from Public Health to come and talk about Sarah Alert and its continued good use. But that being said, at this point, they can't contact trace everybody, but they do their best. It's impossible because the numbers are so high. But they do their best, constantly looking to see if the exposures are in one area, one business, and then they approach that business and say, please get everybody tested in your business, or in a single restaurant, thank goodness not as of late, or other locations. And the decisions are made whether they are loosening or tightening, if you will, of restrictions. You can call them mandates. I hate that word. But
that's a good word.
It is, but it's come to be all negative, where I'd say there are restrictions of behavior for the good of public health.
The restrictions, neither one of them are good. But I think people will look at mandates and go, okay, well, I guess there's some kind of rule behind all of this. And we feel them in both directions. Speaking for the unvaccinated here, 7:55. We're talking about clusters, and the governor on the radio and in the newspaper last week said that they are not seeing any COVID escaping out of restaurants and bars, yet there are still restrictions at restaurants and bars. Likewise with the schools, we're not seeing a whole lot of people spreading COVID-19 in the schools. The kids or the staff, they're getting that out in the community and bringing it to school, but it's not necessarily spreading around in the schools. So I keep asking myself, then why are there still restrictions on bars and restaurants, and why are we thumbing down on the schools? As far as I'm concerned, John Fernandez should be able to open up every school 5 day a week in-person learning with the same things that they've got to mitigate COVID at the gas station.
And I would say we all want that, and we all, those the governor's advisors feel that that's not that far off, that we will move there. Reversing course, if we see clusters in the schools, I'll talk about the schools first, is easier in this setting than it would be if the schools are fully open and functional. I have extreme confidence that it's in the, I will at least say, not too distant future that schools will be open and normal and regular life will return to Guam. Schools being the thing that is most important, I think, to our entire community. So I do feel that that'll happen. I feel that there's an abundance of caution in how they're opening and doing so slowly and making sure that they do everything to make sure the schools are not a source of spread. In other countries, it's been very effective. They're using the science that's available. You have to look, because some countries have kept schools open and didn't have issues. Others had issues within schools. So you just have to take the balance of it and try to come up with something that works for our community, and also reflecting the fear of the parents, which I think over time
there we go. There, see now there. Let's end the conversation there. I think more work needs to be done, and I don't know. I'm a marketing guy. You're a doctor, but between the two of us, I think maybe there's a way that you could craft the messaging that goes out to people so it doesn't appear like fear porn. When we started talking about people dying in their sleep last week, oh my God, I can see the alarm bells going off and everybody running for the rosaries.
No, I completely agree with you that the parental fear, it's hard to say it's wrong for a parent to be fear or you're overly cautious, but the reality is that if your child doesn't have a significant illness, is not severely obese, your child getting COVID is not a big threat to the individual child, right? So in other words, children, so few children die of COVID, so few such a low percentage of children who are positive even ever get admitted to the hospital. So that's not the fear when I send my child to school today. My two kids went back to school today. I just don't want them to become positive so that they don't spread it to others who are more vulnerable than themselves. That's the fear. It's not the fear per se of the individual kids getting sick, because that's such a low likelihood. We have to take that into consideration, but it's really low likelihood.
Well, and again, it goes back to part of the conversation. You get if there's somebody that is more vulnerable than the rest, then that's the subset of society that we have to protect.
Correct.
And we've been saying that for a year and a half since this thing first came out. We all recognize there's going to have to be some behavioral modifications, and while there are vaccines to the degree that they are effective, then yeah, let's go ahead and give that to grandma and grandpa or the uncle that's a little bit more gordito than he needs to be, and make sure that these guys are protected. In the meantime, let everybody else go back to work. Let everybody else go back to school.
The issue with that is that it's hard to tell, if you particularly in unvaccinated individuals, you can tell those who are at high risk, but we also have plenty of people who, just by virtue of their age, for example, have a higher risk of getting ill and occupying the beds that could otherwise be used. So in principle, you are 100% correct. If we could have isolated all of the vulnerable people, the rest of us could have carried on and had very few illnesses and sickness. The problem is we can't isolate them very well, right? That's the issue. And the vaccines are not perfect, as we mentioned. So you basically want to make it so that the spread that occurs in the community is slow and manageable.
All right,
it's working.
Last question, because you got to get out of here by 8, and it's already 8. But I'll throw in one more here for the crowd. What about boosters? A friend of mine, born somewhere in the 40s, had his first 2 vaccines and got that taken care of, and also went out and found a way to get himself a booster. I think it was just another version of just another Pfizer or Moderna shot. What are your thoughts on that?
So Pfizer is the one that's approved for the 3rd vaccine. We're really happy about it. The other, we
got plenty.
Yeah, and we do. And we think that everybody, I think it's over 60, if I can recall, that the final approval was over 60, might have been 65. Don't vote me, but I'll make sure I get that to you. All people over 65 who have not had a vaccine that is a Pfizer in 6 months should get a booster. Also, it now is extended to healthcare workers and people who are in vulnerable situations, for example, who are in nursing homes or work in nursing homes.
Yeah.
All of those individuals are advised to get a 3rd dose, so-called booster.
What do you think about a 4th dose? Will that be required? What's the near long term?
Okay, my thought is, I would say I'm very optimistic that will not happen. You can only pray that there is no epsilon, right? We have Delta, so I suppose the next one would be epsilon, right? So I hope that there is no next variant.
The Z will be named after Zuckerberg, by the way.
Yes, but I hope that we are done, right? That this is it. That we'll much like the Scandinavian countries, we'll work this together as a community. We'll fight it. We'll get through it. We'll keep as few people as hospitalized as possible, hopefully have no more deaths, and then be done. No more need for boosters or anything of that nature.
I won't hold my breath on that, Doc. Just after 8 o'clock in the morning. Dr. Nathaniel Berg in the studio here at 93.3 The Point. Wish we had more time as usual, but he's actually a real doctor at the radiology clinic, and he's going to go off and do all of that stuff and save a few lives. Don't read the comments. You've annoyed a hell of a lot of listeners here this morning, and I think they're worried that they're getting a little bit more of a political response to the questions than...
I hope not. I hope not. My answers are sincere. And they don't reflect anybody. There's no one ever discusses with me. I make that very clear. No one ever discusses with me what I'm going to talk about on the radio. The Physicians Advisory Group. My job is to represent the opinion of that group, but I'm also privy to what's being shared with the governor. And not all of it, obviously, but I come in and express my opinion. So if you're disagreeing, you're disagreeing with me personally. That's fine. It's not an issue. But nobody is telling me what to do.
I just got to point it out. You and I are old buddies.
Yeah, we are.
Just want to make sure that not everybody is satisfied with every answer that you've given, and that's just the way it is.
Yep.
Just after 8 o'clock in the morning, you have a terrific day. Real Joe's going to press the button, see if we can round up some Fox News. Mana's coming up next.
Diplomatic overtures continue between North and South Korea.
North Korea seemed to open the door to better relations with South Korea through a statement from Kim Yo-jong, the powerful sister of leader Kim Jong-un. On Sunday, South Korea responded, urging North Korea to restore dormant communication hotlines, while its unification ministry called Kim Yo-jong's Saturday statement meaningful and added that the South has been consistent in pushing denuclearization and peace on the Korean Peninsula through dialogue. Paul Stevens, Fox News.
A one-time pastor from California is going to prison. Fox's Sue Guzman with the story.
Former Southern California pastor who defrauded investors of more than $33 million has been sentenced to 14 years in federal prison. Kent R.E. Whitney, who was pastor with the Westminster-based Church for the Healthy Self in Orange County, pleaded guilty to mail fraud and filing a false federal income tax return. The SEC says Whitney targeted the surrounding Vietnamese community in a multi-million-dollar Ponzi scheme, taking money from investors for investments, TV, and seminars, and making false claims. Sue Guzman, Fox News.
The NASCAR Cup Series playoffs continue tonight with a round of 12. Fox's Matt Napolitano reports.
With just a dozen drivers still standing, the Cup Series pulled off Vegas Motor Speedway today for the South Point 400. Brad Keselowski among the round of 12 pack, hoping that his past success in Sin City with 3 career victories comes to his benefit today.
Seem to be able to get it done there, so hoping for big things. Obviously, we need a strong performance for this round, and the race is in it. This is a tough round.
Keselowski starting in 8th this afternoon in the South Point 400. Now Larson, fresh on his 6th victory of the Cup season at Bristol last weekend, will be the pole sitter. Winner advances to the round of 8 as the green flag waves in Vegas at 7 p.m. Eastern. Matt Napolitano, Fox News.
And I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News.
Save big on new markdowns during Furniture Cathy Styles inventory clearance sale throughout the month of September. Find upholstered bed frames below $500, sofas as low as $599, and a wide selection of furniture up to 50% off. We offer free design consultation and financing with up to 12 months of zero interest to help you get a home you love today. Follow us on social media, visit our website at FurnitureCathyStyle.com, or call us at 300-9590 for more information. If you're not buying from us, you're paying too much.
Great news, Guam! Chili's 2 for Dining is back. Enjoy a full-on meal deal made for 2 for just $35. Start with 2 Coca-Cola beverages, an appetizer to share, and 2 mouth-watering entrees like the sizzling personal fajitas, the mouth-watering honey chipotle steak and shrimp, or Chili's world-famous fall-off-the-bone baby back ribs. Available for a limited time. Dine in today or call 648-7377 to place to-go orders. Chili's is located on the 2nd floor of Tuan Sands Plaza. Chili's. Savor the moment.
Here at Guam Auto Spot, we have the best selection in Buick, GMC, Mitsubishi, and used cars. Like the 2021 Mitsubishi Mirage. As low as $127 per paycheck, 0 down. Or this 2021 Buick Encore. As low as $237 per paycheck, 0 down for 72 months. Call 478-AUTO to schedule a test drive or get pre-approved online at guamautospot.com.
Over the past 5 years, confidential data and network breaches have doubled for small and large businesses, resulting in huge financial loss. At GTA, our multi-threat security bundle is a cost-effective solution monitored by our team of experts, ready to detect known malware and stop new evolving cyber threats before entering your network.
Protect your business with confidence and call 671-644-1000 or visit gta.net/enterprise. GTA, we start with you.
Your local news is brought to you by Nambo Insurance. Skip the line, pay online. It's fast, it's easy, and it's secure. Visit Nambo.com for more information.
Off a day, it's 8:07. I'm Montesova Tyron with a look at your local news on the point. The Joint Information Center report this morning has 95 new cases of COVID-19 out of 529 people who were tested over the weekend. More tests and results will come out today, but right now our tally is at 14,374 officially reported cases of COVID-19. There were also 31 new cases reported on Saturday, 66 patients in the hospital. Meanwhile, the government of Guam begins enforcing the vaccination amongst their workers. Those were given until September 24th to get vaccinated. But according to the Guam Daily Post this weekend, there were still about 400 workers who had not yet been vaccinated. They're now required to undergo weekly testing. Otherwise, they could face disciplinary action. Meanwhile, the crackdown also begins with bars, restaurants, and other establishments that fall under the governor's executive order, where she says masks use are compromised, and those employees at those establishments will be required to show proof of vaccination. Otherwise, they too will have to submit to weekly testing. Public Health has also stated that employees can apply for religious or medical exemptions. However, none of the applications that they've received have been approved so far. Meanwhile, the Hotel and Restaurant Association has put on an effort with the American Medical Center, and they'll provide rapid testing for $25 per employee. Also today, DOE students are heading back to classes. They should already be there. They follow the cohort plan, splits students up in an A and B cohort. The board did tell the point last week that it's not intended to be a permanent fix. It will allow for 5 days of school instruction over a 2-week period, with students divided in, again, A and B cohorts. What's also to be expected is when students head back, DOE is working on a plan with Public Health to condemn COVID tests amongst the school population. Over the weekend, Public Health issued their guidance on that regard, that would require DOE to put together a plan to implement screening and testing for COVID-19. According to this guidance, 10% of students will have to be randomly tested for COVID-19 every week. This is according to the governor's stipulation that schools will have to follow public health guidelines in order to reopen. Schools will have up to 90 days to begin administering this random tests, and consent forms for screening and testing will be provided to parents and guardians. We'll have more news right after this.
Fuel up today with the new $8 gasolina meal. 2 all-beef Nathan's hot dogs, a big bag of chips, regular size M&Ms, and a 16-ounce gasolina energy drink. The brand new drink in a black can that brings a burst of energy. Drive in now and fire up your day with the $8 gasolina meal. Promo is only available at your favorite Circle K Guam locations while supplies last. Circle K, take it easy.
The governor's hoping to get the approval of the Department of Interior. She sent a request for $3 million to fund plans by the Army Corps of Engineers for a new medical campus that she's been pushing. The governor's met with the Army Corps to discuss the assistance that they could provide to construct a new public hospital. Also, the Department of Education will be holding a job fair in the early part of October to advertise and hopefully get applications for the positions that are available in the Department of Education. Guam Daily Post reporting that John Fernandez looking to conduct the fair either in person or online, targeting the early October for this job fair. He says that DOE currently has 63 teacher vacancies and over 100 one-to-one aide positions to fill, as well as other key positions within their central office. And those are your top stories here on The Point. Here's Ray with your weather.
There's some highly technical broadcast terms were used in some of the commentary about the preceding 20 minutes with Dr. Nathaniel Berg.
Yeah.
Yeah, a number of the Point listeners took to some degree of offense maybe to some of the things that he had to say about the deal. But, that's as real as I can keep things around here. He understands that not everybody's going to agree with the opinion. And frankly, there were many things in there that you go, okay, heard that before. What I'm looking for is a sense that we might be coming out of this thing based on some of the data that we are looking at and the abilities of the public health system to be able to take care of everything. I just want it to make sense at some point, and still in all. Maybe the next time he comes into the studio, we'll get some of that. 8:12 in the morning, 888-8255-888-TALK is what do you want weather? Let me get you a beautiful sunrise picture. I think Bandit took this a little bit earlier today, and I'm going to put it up on the screen just so it makes everybody smile. Donamila, smile, girl. Sandra, smile. Okay, partly cloudy, isolated showers. I've got light and variable winds becoming southerly around 10 miles this afternoon. Highs today 86 degrees. With the heat index is going to feel like 94. Tonight there's partly cloudy skies and isolated showers. Southerly winds up to about 10 miles an hour, and overnight lows are going to be 78 degrees. We'll see about the same thing tomorrow. Sunset tonight is going to be at 6:13, and the nicest comment on the bird conversation. This is the nicest thing anybody had to say. Said, let him try the meatloaf.
Aw. Wow.
It's, Kevin ate it all. Sorry about that.
Come and eat, boy.
It's when I don't know what the deal is. I got to go find Kevin. Can you just WhatsApp the guy? Okay, because Jerry Roberts is not allowed to go back home until we spring the Tupperware.
Yeah, I saw him out there. He's sitting on the curb.
He just like, how about now, honey? Did you have the knife? It's a nice knife I gave. Just make sure that doesn't become station property, all right? It's 8:13 in the morning. There's news and weather together. This is The Point.
Go green, go solar, and save big with Nambo Insurance. When you power up your home with solar panels, Nambo Insurance will pay up to $350 toward your power bill. With Nambo, you can enjoy great savings while going green and helping to save Guam's environment. At Nambo, it pays to go green. Terms and conditions apply. Visit Nambo.com or call 477-9754 for details. Nambo Insurance, proudly serving Guam for over 50 years.
Do you or a loved one have loss of use of a hand or hands from an injury, stroke, birth defect, or pain? Then reach out to a specialist in upper extremity and hand surgery care by contacting Dr. Jerome Landstrom, board-certified reconstructive hand surgeon and microsurgeon. 671-646-HAND, or visit his website at www.pacifichandsurgery.com.
Is it me? Dude, I was,
man.
I was looking over,
I know.
Can I just say what a great guy Lee Weber is?
Yeah,
Guam Daily
of course.
Post. Hard news reporting is needed. Ray Gibson and other talk show hosts, purely entertainers, not in any way, shape, or form are they news reporters. You know why? Can I tell you another reason why
I want that on a
want
shirt,
to be a news
man.
reporter? Yeah. They got crap hours.
Yes.
They got, can I just tell you, earlier in my career, when people would say, "Oh yeah, Gibson, your dad was in the news, wasn't he? Yeah, Pop was a news guy. He was a news guy. He made a comfortable living because you could make a comfortable living in the 1960s on $5 an hour. I don't know that goes all that far. And you're saying, come on now, they're paying journalists more than that. At the end of the day, and Mana will attest to this. And she's looking at me like, what are you dragging me into now? Is that, you might be making, $15-20 an hour as a journalist, right? But that's a 24-hour day, 7-day a week. You never sleep. The thing is going off. The police scanner's always going off, and there's always an excuse to show up for a perp walk in the middle of the night. Or catch a fire, or something. The airplane comes in with the body at such and such a time, and so if you're going to be in that game, you better get used to being able to live on about 3 or 4 hours of sleep, on top of a social life, on top of a romantic life, and all of that stuff. And fact of the matter is, I've seen it, and I've lived near it, and I've never wanted to do any of that. I'll do my 7-day-a-week life. I'll do 20-hour days and stuff like that. But I'm going to do it on stuff that, number one, makes me some money, and number two, I enjoy. Tinkering with parts and transmitters and towers and that kind of thing. Where did I go? Where was I supposed to go before I launched into that? Do you remember? Portions of the program being brought to you by, I was going to talk about Helen Middlebrook's editorial as well. It's 8:16 in the morning. Portions of the program brought to you by APL, American President Lines, a global presence with a local home. Also being brought to you by Take Care. Did you miss the deadline? GovGuam employees and retirees? I don't know if you can do anything about it now, but for those of you that caught it and are now in the Take Care family, welcome. Great health plans, global network of partners. They really are the dog's bullocks. And that's a good thing, guys. So check them out today if you are looking around, likewise looking around for some kind of good health care.
The Ray Gibson Show. Any speaker, anytime. Morning talk that matters.
You know, the only thing that matters at some point is what's going on in football, kid. There's football today, huh? I'm sorry. You know, we just get caught up with so much of the other crap that you forget when there is something else that you can distract yourself with. Although I will say, can I one second? Let me just open up a WhatsApp. Brother Tom Poole, who is a frequent contributor to the program, is as far as I know continuing to be out of town. And that's not a good thing because he and I have a good time whenever we're together. But he turned me on to a show on Amazon Prime. Some of you have the membership, some of you don't. But here's the deal. I just watched, this is Tom talking now, I just watched the new movie called The Courier on Amazon Prime. Stars Benedict Cumberbatch, a true Cold War story. It was superb. One of the best things that I've watched in some time. And I put it on television last night and was able to make it through, I want to say, the first about 45 minutes. And then I got that feeling like I got to get to sleep, which is too bad because I was completely engrossed in the show. It's called The Courier. With Benedict Cumberbatch. You can watch it on Amazon Prime if you've got it. And I tell you what, I'm not a big Tom Clancy kind of one of those guys, super spy thriller stuff. But this movie had all of the right touches early on, and it went just from one good piece of story to another. I intend to go and spend the rest of the day watching that. Oh, really? Is he on?
He is on,
Jerry?
sir.
Jerry Paris from the Guam Visitors Bureau.
The man himself.
Is on the line. Good morning, Jerry. How you doing?
I'm good, Ray. How you doing?
I miss you.
Yeah.
I just, it's been a little bit, been a couple of weeks now since we've had the opportunity to get together and just talk about where things are these days. But I have been keeping up with you and the movements of the Guam Visitors Bureau. Unfortunately, I cannot apply for the handyman or receptionist job.
Well, it's about time you found something you can do.
Well, I can steal cars or I can sell cars. But the guys over at the police department would prefer I stay exactly where I am. Anyway, 819. Jerry Perry's on the line from the Visitors Bureau. And the last couple of headlines that I'd seen did not have a whole lot of decent news in them with regard to some semblance of normalcy when it comes to the hospitality industry here on Guam. So many of our source markets are in a tough spot still, and the predictions are that FY22 is not going to see any more than 135,000 visitors.
Well, the darndest thing, Ray, is it's really very difficult to do any forecast with so many things not happening in our market, right? The issue on containment of the virus, for example, in Japan and Korea is still a big problem. The good thing is the Korean market is catching up and closing the gap fast to the Japan level of vaccination. So we still believe that Korea is kind of a low-hanging fruit. But every time we look at Japan, their 5-day average of infections are like in the 5,000 level, about 3 times the infection rate of Korea. And also the other issue in Japan is they keep rolling their, except for United, for example, JAL keeps rolling their schedule backwards. Now it's October, now it's into November. And probably the more consistent carriers, basically limited nonetheless, is United, Jin Air, Jeju, and Philippine Air. They're limited, but at least they're consistent. And so they have all these flights scheduled that are now pushing toward the back half of the fiscal year. And so even if we double or triple up the arrivals, you know, for the last 180 days of the year, you're not going to make up a lot of ground. But I know that the initial projections we had was something bracketed between the 80,000 and 130,000 level, depending on air service and depending on the containment of COVID and so forth, right? But there seems to be a glimmer of hope anyway, and we're looking at the possibility of adjusting that a little bit maybe. And I can't really disclose much of that right now because we're having a special board meeting on Thursday specifically to pin down the forecast on numbers and budget allocations by market. So, you know, it'd be not proper for me to disclose some of those figures now, but I can only say that it'll be somewhat of an improvement, if not a big improvement, a slight improvement for our initial forecast, which, by the way, we adjusted mid-year, and we're not even going to meet those numbers. But we're optimistic that things are changing. First of all, locally, in spite of what's happening on Guam, we still believe that we're a safe destination because of the robust detection and containment program, the protocols in place, and the high rate of vaccination. And so that being said, now our customers are going to have to feel comfortable coming under those circumstances.
Well, what is that? I mean, I just had Dr. Berg in here. What's the data telling us about restaurants, illnesses that we are detecting while people are staying in the hospitality facilities that we've got here on Guam? Near as I can tell, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of spread down in Tumon, and there are lots of people walking up and down in the beach, and a handful of people even finding their way into the old DFS Galleria.
Yeah, that's the point I'm getting at. Yeah. There's a greater sense of safety as compared to where we were a year ago. And so that's kind of feeding on itself in terms of coming to Guam. We just had like a charter flight like last week, for example, in Jeju Air. These are fully vaccinated folks. Most of them are tourists, not local residents. And so this is what I mean about, we're starting to see a little glimmer of hope, and we still believe that Korea will probably be leading the pack. Japan, the infection rate of Japan is still 3 times the average number in Korea. And, JAL, I think, has pushed back their flight again to November, I believe. And so when you're doing that, what you're essentially doing is backloading the volume toward the last 2 quarters of the fiscal year, 180 days.
Right, but the damage in the community has already been done. When the airplane leaves, you can't buy that seat again. Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga Saturday sounded optimistic about lifting Japan's state of the emergency over the coronavirus when it expires at the end of this month. The situation, quote, has certainly taken a turn for the better as they're addressing other leaders of the country, citing the fact that the number of new cases in Japan has dropped about 3,000 a day from 25,000 at one point. He says, I would like to decide whether to lift the emergency after hearing expert opinions. So I got my fingers crossed that maybe the experts will provide him with sufficient opinions so that they can drop the healthcare emergency in Japan and perhaps begin to allow for citizens to get on airplanes, leave, and come back without a hefty vaccination.
Yeah, that kind of
quarantine.
That can be deceptive. That's the good news, and they're actually pretty bullish in domestic travel, which is about 70 to 80% of their whole tourism business, right? But in our survey, in-country survey about 2-3 months ago, 73% of Japanese travelers interviewed believe that they will not travel outside the country. So we've got the 27% to work with, right?
Yeah. Well, you're full of good news here today, Jerry Perez, and I think that's where I'm glad that you are. I'm not suggesting that anybody get on an airplane and move their belongings and life to someplace where it's recovering faster or feels like it makes more sense, the recovery of from COVID-19 here on Guam. But the fact of the matter is that many people are hearing what you've got to say about what the hospitality industry could be looking like in 2022 and saying that ain't going to be enough for me to support my family and file what we used to refer to as Chapter 747. Is the news that grim for some people whose lifestyles and careers were anchored in the hospitality industry?
Well, I can't speak to that because different businesses have their own financial thresholds. But at the end of the day, what we're looking at is our source markets. Only 19% of them say that they plan to travel within the next year. And so that's the number we need to start addressing and trying to market to. So I think, I look at the 19% as green shoots of opportunity rather than the glass being half empty.
Any idea what kind of travelers those 19% are going to be? Should we be happy with whatever we get, or should we continue a strategy of targeting a higher income market?
Well,
more of a well-heeled crowd.
Yeah, that's debatable at this time because it seems like it's the younger 20 to 30 age group demographic that are more inclined for that, and a very, very limited men over 60 category inclined to travel. But so in terms of the yield per visitor, honestly, we'd settle for any yield than no yield at all.
Then no yield at all. But yeah, be mindful that there could be the big crowd. The crowd that makes its way into Guam might not be as well dealed. Might be that kind of ramen staying in someplace $25 a night kind of traveler.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Well, as you say, you take what you can get, and folks, take the advice for what it is. If your career was in the hospitality industry for a long, long time, it might be a while before that comes back. And if you can find another gig in this town that you are otherwise qualified for, i.e. a handyman or a receptionist at the Guam Visitors Bureau, I'd take it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's not what we like it to be, but it is what it is.
Somebody's got to say it is what it is. I mean, that's the thing, and that's one of the reasons why I come to you. I mean, there's any number of people that will blow sunshine up everybody's skirts, but Jerry Perez is a realist, if anything, and those are the numbers the way they look, and frankly, it does look kind of grim for the hospitality industry. I have no idea how some of these places are able to keep any of the lights on, Jerry. What are you hearing from the guys down the street?
Well, don't hear too much from the guys down the street other than they're hanging on. I mean, some of the bigger businesses are relying a lot more on local business, which, as you know, is fueled by a lot of federal money. But that's soon going to be running out, as you know, and so that's going to be a real issue, moving forward.
How many more properties do you think PHR is going to buy before this is all done? You think they feel, because as far as they feel like the only ones that are liquid around here is Cortec and PHR. Are they going to buy up all the rest of the properties down there?
I have no idea. Yeah.
I'll go find Milton.
Yeah, the silver lining on this, Ray, of course, is we have an opportunity during this downtime to really do something with our product. And so whatever federal funding we can get at this time, we're really trying to aim at improving products so that when we come out of the COVID slowly or rapidly, that there's something to sell. And so we have some plans if we get funding from federal government to do some destination improvements, and we have some ideas on how really to generate interest once tourists get back. But we shall see. We don't decide how much money we get from the feds, right? It's the powers that be that do that.
Well, we do decide how we spend it, and I'm with you. I think maybe some of the smartest moves that we're going to be making are for destination enhancements wherever we possibly can. 8:31, Jerry, it's always a pleasure talking with you, even when the news is bad. I hope I get a chance to see you soon. I'm not allowed in Carabao anymore, so you're going to have to buy me a beer and just sneak it to me outside.
Okay, we'll do.
All right, buddy. 831. Jerry Parrish from the Visitors Bureau, 888-8255, 888-TALK. I had to Monty in a second, but Michelle's got a question about the, or maybe not, something about religious exemptions. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning. How are you doing, Ray?
You know what? Never better. Thanks for asking.
So I think I may have found some documents that can allow us to get a religious exemption.
Oh, I know which Michelle this is.
Ooh,
I know which
her.
Michelle. Yes, Senator Michelle Armenta.
How did you not recognize her voice?
Well, hello.
Somebody was
She
just
had to talk
asking
first.
about her on Friday.
Right.
And curious if she's going to be running again.
I will not be running.
Oh.
Whose campaign are you going to manage? Oh, wait. No, we've heard this before. Okay, because the Republican Party needs some hot shots, and to whatever degree that they like you, I think maybe the Republican parties need to draft you. They'll find a committee that will draft Michelle Armenta.
You think so? Well, we'll see.
I want you in the legislature, Michelle. I want you to be a senator in the 37th Guam legislature, and give these guys a platform based on reality instead of idiotic notions like we got to get rid of plastic straws and paper bags and all that crap. We've got real serious problems in this town. We need somebody that's has got a firm foundation. Number one in faith, and number two in reality, to be able to talk truth to that power, if you will.
Well, that was my intention the first time around, but apparently the people see things differently than I do. So regardless, maybe in a few years that will be the case, but I've decided to take my son out of government school, so I really want to focus on my son right now until he's able to do things on his own.
I got you. Good kid. 8:33 in the morning. All right, so you said you've got documents that will help define me as a bona fide member of the Roman Catholic Church.
Well, to be a member of the bona fide Catholic or a bona fide member of the Catholic Church, you really just need a certificate of baptism. And you really don't even, and that includes Protestants, whether they like it or not, which is why their baptism is valid in the Catholic Church. So that's the only thing. That doesn't make you a practicing Catholic, obviously, but regardless, it still makes you Catholic. And I've been going through some documents, and I'm thinking that this should be able, because from what I understand, nothing has been approved to see that you've been religiously exempt. So I've been doing a little reading this morning. And there are teachings of the Catholic Church, but, apparently everything that's going on with the Pope isn't enough. So they want documents. And I think as long as we provide documents, then there should be no reasons to why we should get that exemption. So I was thinking, or actually I was reading, so I was going through the Catechism of the Catholic Church, because in order to be a practicing Catholic, one of those things is that you have to abide by the teachings of the Catholic Church. So if you go to the Catechism of the Catholic Church in paragraph 2242, it says the citizen is obligated in conscience not to follow the directives of civil authorities when they are contrary to the demands of the moral order. To the fundamental rights of persons or the teachings of the gospel, refusing obedience to civil authorities when their demands are contrary to those of an upright conscience, finds its justification in the distinction between serving God and serving the political community. Render therefore to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. We must obey God rather than men. And then you can also go to 2256, citizens are obligated in conscience not to follow the directives of civil authorities when they are contrary to the demands of the moral order. We must obey God rather than men, which is in Acts chapter 5, verse 29. And if that doesn't work, they can also go to the Vatican website, where it says Vatican's Congregation. It's the Vatican Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith, which actually came out in December of 2020. And this is specifically in relation to the vaccination. And it states, vaccination is not, as a rule, a moral obligation, and therefore it must be voluntary.
Therefore, if it's not voluntary. Okay, so basically, we're the citation here from the Green Book, the Catechism
But they didn't
book.
order that it's morally unacceptable.
Well, the Pope says it's an act of charity.
See, okay.
Yeah,
But
so there's a
Pope saying-
difference. That
but
the
that's
church
not
hasn't,
in the book.
the church hasn't said that this is morally unacceptable, and if you do it, you're a bad Catholic.
Well, here's the thing. So the church opposes any vaccine that is developed with the use of fetal tissue, which is why J&J is what they're specifically talking about. However, Pfizer and Moderna don't use it in the production, but they do use it for testing. So therefore, it is morally tainted. Now, where it gets a little gray is it does say that it is okay to use it in a grave necessity. So that's when you start, when you can start questioning, well, what is grave necessity? Well, if you're not even sick and you're around people who are vaccinated and they're more, if they do get sick, it's not going to be a grave matter. So that wouldn't be a grave necessity, now would it? Now, it's also a Catholic teaching that you have to respect each person's convictions and personal choices. And if a person does believe that it is wrong to take the vaccine, you should not take it. And you, as the Catholic teaching, you must obey your conscience.
It's, as you say, it's in the book, and if you don't obey your conscience in this, it goes down as a venal sin, right?
Well, it depends. It can also go down if you do it willingly, and you know the consequences, and you know the grave matter.
Mortal.
And you do it. Then it's immoral. Yeah, it's immoral.
Wow. There's some heavy stuff here. At the end of the day, I'm not comfortable with having a bureaucrat determine whether or not I'm eligible for religious exemption. I think it's sufficient enough to say that you can apply for, and the same way that I am not, what's the word here? This is a shall issue, not may issue state when it comes to concealed carry, right? I think this should be considered a must issue exemption if I apply for it. Not that there's anybody else looking around, whether I've gotten the umatuna, whether I've cracked the Bible, whether I've been to Mass twice in the last couple of years, and I think you know every time I've been to Mass in the last couple of years. So I don't know that I would be down there as a great practicing Catholic, but just the identification of myself, and maybe even showing the baptism certificate, as you say, should be sufficient for them to allow for the exemption. Otherwise, it challenges, I think, the notion of how much is enough Catholic, and I don't think that the Department of Public Health and Social Services is up to that challenge to determine for me how much is a Catholic. Bob Kelly wants in on the conversation, but I'll let you comment on what I said for a second.
Well, I think the whole thing is ridiculous that we have to prove that we are any type of religion or that we are a conscientious objector for receiving any type of medical intervention.
Should just be a declaration.
It should be. I don't want it. There you go.
Exactly. Why didn't you get it? Because it goes against my religious beliefs. Well, what specifically are those religious beliefs? And the answer might be none of your business.
Well, I agree with that. But I think we're a little too far gone for that. So unfortunately, this is where we are.
Another one of my strong in the faith Catholic buddies, Bob Kelly, is on the line. He wants in on the conversation, so I'm going to ask Mana to sit tight for a couple more minutes on the news and the headlines and bring Bob Kelly into this conversation. Bob, when was the last time you were at Mass? Did you bring the umatuna? What was the homily?
The last time I was at Mass was Saturday evening.
Okay, good man. Good man. Homily?
Anyway, what I wanted to make the comment on was the issue of the testing, which is FDA mandatory for most medicines and the use of fetal tissue. Most of the current modern medicines have been tested, not just the vaccination involving fetal tissue. Many food additives that are in most of the processed foods you buy have at least one or more additives that were tested with fetal tissue. And I don't think that's a good path to go down because it's a matter of how they test at FDA. And because you take a substance that was produced from non-fetal tissue and it's a totally separate issue, but they put a test against it, anything that's been tested with it, we would wipe out half the foods in the supermarket and most of the current drugs. And I've talked to some Catholics about that. Well, I don't want to know about those because then I would have a problem. And that, to me, is sticking the head in the sand. I don't think the vaccines have been done any different than any other modern medicine and many of the food additives and even some cosmetic.
But nobody's forcing us to take them. Nobody's putting together policies into public health and that are forcing people to choose between taking that vaccine, regardless of how it's what's in it or how it's created. They're being forced to take a vaccine, or they have to test, or they have to lose their job. And I think that's sufficient enough overreach.
Your argument is you don't want to be forced to take it because the right of choice, not because of the fetal tissue.
Jesus doesn't want me to take it. That's my moral ground.
I'm just saying that then if you're using it because of the fetal tissue testing, that takes almost every drug that you would get, including many over-the-counter drugs, and takes a lot of the foods that you go down and buy in the supermarket that may have an additive of a certain red food dye that was tested with fetal tissue, and you couldn't take any of those if that is the argument.
No, I hear what you're saying, and it's not the argument. And the argument is it's none of your business. If I say that this runs against my religious beliefs, I might have a completely different religious belief based on something completely different, up to and including Jesus doesn't want me to take it. It came to me in a dream. That's all.
I agree,
and I
with
shouldn't
you.
have to explain to anybody.
With you.
I know.
I'm agreeing with you on the fact of not being mandated to take it. I'm just saying the use of the fetal tissue in testing, which is what Armada said, if we apply that standard, that would apply to so many things that we would have off the list. So that's all I'm saying is that specific argument, not the argument of lack of choice. I could back you on that. I can't back it on the fetal tissue testing unless you're going to apply it to everything.
All right. Well, let's hear what Michelle Armenta's got to say.
Well, if I know that something is tainted with the fetal tissues, then yes, I will. I make that choice not to use that product, not to use the company, not to use whatever. Now that is just me, but like Ray said, nobody is forcing me to do it. I am basing all of this on a conscientious exemption. I have other reasons why I don't want to take it, and a lot of it is medical issues. I don't see a doctor. I don't take anything over the counter. I try to keep everything as natural as possible. So when you're presenting a vaccine for me that's really not even, it's in the process of being tested and we don't exactly know what the effects are, then I have some serious concerns. And I am known for being pro-life, and if I know that something is tainted, I don't want to be forced to take it. There are a lot of things that I don't do because of my pro-life stance. There are a lot of things I don't do because I'm Catholic. I don't eat meat on certain days. I don't eat a whole lot, if anything at all, on other days. I don't. The list goes on and on. That's part of being a practicing Catholic. So, and for somebody to make an accusation that, well, having stem cells is not a good enough argument for you because it's in so many other things. Well, you don't know how I live my life. You don't know what my beliefs are. You don't know what I do. And it's nobody's business except me and God. And that's what I'm saying.
I agree with you, and I back you for that stand. All I'm trying to say is there is an inconsistency if people only specifically target the vaccine for its testing and not the other things that have been tested. They need to usually look at another argument. Now, if you take the stand that anything that's had testing, because that's a FDA protocol on so many medicines and food additives, anything that's been tested, you wish to avoid because of the moral issue of the testing on fetal tissue, then that's a perfectly valid, but to specifically only say the vaccine, but nothing else that's been tested, that's where I'm saying it's inconsistent. But there are other arguments that you're using. The fact you want all natural medicines, the fact that you're dealing with that. Those are all valid arguments. I'm not even arguing about the right of people to get an alternative or an exemption. I'm just arguing that let's be consistent on the reason. And if we are willing to take the foods and the other drugs that have been tested because that's FDA mandate, and then avoid this, that's being inconsistent, is all I'm saying.
All right, and I understand that that's a great debate that Catholics amongst themselves can get into. However, there is a document purporting to be an application for religious exemptions. All you should need to say is that I would like a religious exemption based on because I'm a Roman Catholic and I don't agree with the COVID-19 vaccination or whatever. You come up with anything you want to, but the application says please attach supporting statements/documents indicating that COVID-19 vaccination is against bona fide doctrines or tenets of your religious belief or practices. If no documentation is provided, please explain in the space provided below. So now we got to write a 100-word essay on why it is that we are asking for a religious exemption, other than, as I said, the application should be on its face all you need to do. I'd like a religious exemption. Period. It's not subject to approval or disapproval by a bureaucrat. I don't care whether he's the director of the Department of Public Health and Social Services or the governor of Guam.
I'm actually backing your position on this too, Ray. I'm just asking for the consistency in the argument.
If we have to, we shouldn't have to make an argument is the point that I'm trying to make here.
Well, now that's a different issue than not making an argument is a different issue than having an inconsistent argument.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I'm confused now, so I'm going to let you go.
But here's the thing. The problem is if a doctor prescribes medication to me, I don't have to take it. If I go to the grocery store and it includes certain ingredients, I don't have to take it. The government is now telling me that I have to take this vaccine if I have to work, if I have to go into a restaurant, if I at this point, if my kid if I had no choice but to send my kid to a public school, they would have to either get vaccinated to play in sports, or they would have to get now tested,
right,
possibly randomly, and have that awful Q-tip shoved up into your brain. I mean, that's ridiculous. And I know that they're concerned about. I mean, we live in a multi-generational home, and if my son were going to school, he comes home, he tests positive for COVID. I have family members in this house that will not take the vaccine. Well, if they get sick, well, that's kind of, I mean, I know that people are concerned about the hospitals and the number of beds that are available, but they are choosing not to do it for whatever reason it is that they have. And the hospitals are there to take care of people, and they can't say, well, you have to take this, otherwise you're going to die. Well, you know what? If you eat a certain way, you are going to die a certain way. If you smoke, you are going to die a certain way. Nobody's stopping anybody from smoking cigarettes.
There's no mandate on that. All right, guys, it's 8:48. We're at a point here where we're fighting over morsels in an argument. Number one, number two. I also don't know that anybody over at Adelup is going to pay attention, or public health is going to pay attention to us. This is what they have projected. So I think the fun part is for people to make exemption applications, whether it's religious or medical, and when they deny you, I don't know, spend a couple of minutes with a lawyer and find out whether or not that might be a violation of any civil rights, especially when we're talking about the First Amendment, and especially where we start talking about people's religious exemption desires. I got to run. I'll talk to you guys.
Talk to you later.
Yep. Love you, mean it. Bye. 888-8255-888-TALK. As usual, Mona's making me wait to do the news. I'm just playing around. Mona Silva Tyron with her last look at news is coming up next.
When making the new Kentucky Fried Chicken sandwich, people asked how I felt about burger places selling fried chicken. I'd say that's none of my business, just like making fried chicken is none of theirs. The new Kentucky Fried Chicken sandwich with mayo, pickles, and a quarter-pound filet as far as the eye can see. Get comfy, it's gonna be a while.
The new Kentucky Fried Chicken Sandwich is back for good, along with the new all-white meat KFC chicken sandwiches, Zinger, Super Deluxe, and Grilled Doublicious. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
As we get back to business, Docomo Pacific is ready to keep you connected. Introducing Business Bundles Plus. Build a customized bundle with the right internet, mobile, TV, and phone plan for your business. Pay for exactly what you need and nothing you don't. And the more services you add, the more you save. Plus, you can rely on Docomo Pacific's fastest, most reliable network and and 24/7 customer support. So build your own bundle and save today with Business Bundles Plus. Call 671-688-2677. Docomo Pacific Business. Work better together.
Guam Auto Spot has the best selection in Buick, GMC, Mitsubishi, and used cars like the 2021 Mitsubishi Mirage starting at $127 per paycheck. 0 down. Call 671-478-AUTO to take a test drive or get pre-approved online at GuamAutospot.com.
What about Baha'is? Is Baha'is in there?
Not on the list.
Not on the list. Mana's looking over a list of different faiths that are out there that might include the vaccination, the inoculations as something that they are against, being anathema to those. And one of them was the End of Times Church.
Yes, End Time Ministry, Church of Christ Scientists, Church of the Firstborn, Faith Tabernacle, and Dutch Reformed Congregations.
I don't think we have any of those here.
Oh, wow.
That I'm
No,
familiar
but you
with.
could. Everything's virtual nowadays. So
I suppose. I mean, what did they have baptismals? I mean, do they have the supporting documentation that Art St. Augustine wants from over at the Department of Public Health and Secret Service? 8:51 in the morning. It's time for Mana Silva Tyron to fill us in with a last look at news and headlines for a Monday. What you got?
Well, vaccination clinics and testing sites resume today, and they go on throughout the week. And you can probably expect that there's going to be a bigger demand for either as the governor's executive order kicks in for those government agencies and private businesses that require proof of vaccines amongst employees. Those who don't get vaxxed will have to get tested for COVID-19 every week in order to be able to work. Public Health also this weekend issued some guidance that would work out with schools' plan to implement a COVID test and screening policy at each of the schools. DOE will also be sending out consent forms to parents to allow for the eventual testing of students. Also, 95 new cases reported yesterday, another 31 cases reported on Saturday, and more tests were conducted over the weekend. The results of those should come out today. 66 patients said to be in the hospital. Also, senators go back into session this morning at 10 o'clock. Those are your headlines right here on The Point.
Wait, I was going to ask you if you wanted to see the scary story today.
Sure.
Scary story. Now, Mana and I are probably the only two people on Guam that are watching out for any of this stuff. But
I didn't see anything. Is there news?
There is some. Yeah, there's an alarming story here from the South China. I'll put it up on the screen. South China news service here. Chinese military plans for Taiwan hampered by the second island chain. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with the terminology, there's the first chain, Taiwan, Spratlys, Paracels, all that, and then you've got the second chain. Guam and the Mariana Islands are the second chain. So what they're saying here is that Chinese military plans for Taiwan hampered by the second island chain. This is coming out, as I said, from the South China Morning Post. And on this is where it gets alarming. So the front cover of the actual website story has a picture of the USS Oklahoma City at the U.S. Naval Base Guam, a part of the strategic island chain. The PLA Air Force's recent exercises in the South China Seas were designed to enhance its ability to prevent other militaries from coming to Taiwan's aid in the event of an attack. They're not even hiding the fact anymore that that's what their exercises are meant to do, to attack and annex Taiwan. In which case, the theory is that the American military forces from Guam would be loaded to bear against that takeover. Now, what they're saying is they're not going to do that now because they don't want to get into a protracted war with the United States. That's the gist of this article. But what's alarming here is that they're saying out loud, this is what we want to do, and we're going to have a hard time because there's Guam, and it's got Navy, and it's got Air Force, and there's going to be Marines there, and there's a Coast Guard. The article outlined a simulation of how an assault on the self-ruled island could play out while acknowledging that the PLA's ability to attack was constrained by the second island chain, a strategic group of islands in the middle of the West Pacific. And that's us, includes U.S. military bases on Guam, about 2,700 miles out from Taiwan. While the PLA's attacking range extended to the second island chain, an attack on Guam would not be wise, as it would inevitably lead to a prolonged conflict between the U.S. and China. In contrast, the U.S. could rapidly deploy military resources, including B-1B and B-52 heavy strategic bombers from around here, but the situation would be reversed. Again, Why are they showing all of their cards all of a sudden? But the situation could be reversed if China's next aircraft carrier, equipped with electromagnetic catapults, look it up, Real Joe, write it down, and stealth planes could get close to Hawaii. At that time, the Taiwan issue and the future of the Western Pacific would have nothing to do with the U.S. any longer. Beijing regards the self-ruled island as a renegade province to be returned to mainland control by force if necessary. In July, to mark the centenary of the ruling Communist Party, the same magazine published a detailed outline of a possible three-stage attack that could pave the way for an assault landing on Taiwan. All right, so this ought to be enough to keep you awake a little bit at night, is the saber rattling that is going on out here with the next big bunch of guys out there in Beijing. Is this something to worry about? Is this something that, I don't know, is this what I need my biscuito and spam for? Should we be preparing for it? Now, the other point on this is I don't know how much we'd really have to worry about it. This is where you get that, total grain of salt in the conversation. Really, we'd be taken out in about the first 4 or 5 minutes anyway if it came to bullets, and they had the Chinese wouldn't necessarily need to do that. They've got friends in North Korea, they got friends in Russia, and there are other submarines in the water that are capable one way or the other. So we probably wouldn't even know when it happened. All of our problems solved just like that.
Live today like it's the last.
Amen to that. 8:56. That's right. That's Stacks. It's 8:56 and change. We'll probably take a quick break and come back.
Looking to furnish your home? Furniture Cathy Style offers a wide variety of beautiful quality home furnishings at affordable prices. Find the best deals with mattresses starting at $169, sofas as low as $699, bed frames starting at $399, and dining sets starting at $499. Schedule a free design consultation and let us help you create a home you love. Follow us on social media, visit our website at FurnitureCathyStyle.com, or call us at 300-9590 for more information. Shop with us today.
Raise your glasses for a toast, because First Hawaiian Bank now turns your meals into a reason to celebrate. Every dollar you spend on dining purchases, including fast food, earns you up to 3 times United miles. Simply use your First Hawaiian Bank United credit card and start reaping the most rewarding credit card experience on island. Terms and restrictions apply. Don't have a First Hawaiian Bank credit card? Visit any branch or FHB.com to apply today. With First Hawaiian Bank, it all starts with yes.
Portions of the program brought to you by the guys over at Docomo. They've got a bundle plan for businesses, believe it or not. So if you are in business and going, I want me a new phone system, or I need mobile phones for my employees, or something as simple as, we just like to be able to watch TV in a lunchroom. Can we get something like that going with Docomo? And the answer is absolutely yes. The more services that you add, the more money you save. And you're going, that's counterintuitive, Ray. It's the way they do things over at Docomo. So check them out today. Ray Gibson Show also being brought to you by the guys over at Olive Garden. And if you have not yet had the opportunity, then I suggest that you take it. They've got these great takeout platters. Going to love the price, like $50. Breadsticks, house salad. We got apps, fried mozzarella, or the Ray Gibson approved favorite, spinach artichoke dip. Yes, all the time, on anything. Find it. We've got lasagna classico. There's chicken parmesan, 5-cheese ziti al forno, chicken and shrimp. And you're going, that's what I want. Then they go, no, they have chicken and shrimp and bacon. Oh, no, I want that too. Can I get 2 platters? Talk to them about that. Would you call Olive Garden at 989-0008. Okay, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I was thinking if the technology was really giving me a hard time, we'd bail about 9, but it looks like everything is as stable as need be. So I'll tell you what, we'll jump into some Fox News Live, hopefully, and then on the other side of that, we don't have Montesilva taking care of news or headlines, but we will roll quickly into my favorite part of the program. It's the small talk portion of the program, and that's going to be ahead. You know what I haven't had a chance to do yet this entire time? I've been watching the scores on the NFL, but I haven't had a chance to actually read any of them to you. So it's possible in the next little bit when we've got some time, we'll take a look at what's happening in the football games that have been played and the ones that are still to be played. Lots on the schedule. That's all ahead right here. 93.3 KUSG. I got you. This is The Point.
HD3.
A critical week week on Capitol Hill. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. Congress must pass a funding bill by Thursday night or face a government shutdown. Republicans oppose Democrats linking a government funding bill to a debt ceiling suspension and threaten a filibuster. Republican Texas Congressman Kevin Brady on Fox's Sunday Morning Futures.
They've known this debt ceiling for 2 years was coming. They never passed a budget, haven't had a single discussion with Republicans about how we tackle our financial future as a country.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on ABC's This Week called the Republican threat totally irresponsible.
I would think that the business community would speak out on this because it has devastating impact on our credit rating as well as global economy.
Pelosi also vows that Democrats will pass the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill this week and push ahead the bigger $3.5 trillion social infrastructure bill. Memorial services were held on Long Island today for Gabby Petito, whose body was found in a Wyoming National Park a week ago. Fox's Laura Ingo reports.
The family said with the uncertainty around when the FBI would be releasing her body, it was time to come home and grieve together and hold a service in her honor. A prayer card handed out to attendees has the words from one of Gabby Petito's tattoos, "Let It Be," and a poem on the back that was written by her stepfather. Those who came from near and far said they wanted to be here for the family any way they could.
The search continues for Gabby's fiancé, Brian Laundrie, who's considered a person of interest in Gabby's death. Germany's center-left Social Democrats are projected to have narrowly defeated Chancellor Angela Merkel's Conservative Party. The win will put Europe's largest economy on course for lengthy haggling to form a new government, while Merkel stays on in a caretaker role until a successor is sworn in. America is listening to Fox News.
Here at Guam Auto Spot, we have the best selection in Buick, GMC, Mitsubishi, and used cars. Like the 2021 Mitsubishi Mirage. As low as $127 per paycheck, 0 down. Or this 2021 Buick Encore. As low as $237 per paycheck, 0 down for 72 months. Call 478-AUTO to schedule a test drive or get pre-approved online at guamautospot.com.
Everyone has a busy schedule these days, and sometimes we forget to schedule our routine dental checkup and cleaning. Don't neglect your dental health. Schedule one today with Dr. Robert Yang and his Smile team, conveniently located at the East West Business Center on Marine Drive, Upper Tumon. Call us today at 647-8702 or 3. Again, that's 647-8702 or 647-8703. We make smiles happen.
The director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is explaining her decision to expand an advisory panel's recommendation on who should get COVID boosters. More from Fox's Gernal Scott.
Dr. Rochelle Walensky okayed Pfizer booster shots for healthcare workers and first responders after an immunization panel voted against it. On CBS Face the Nation, Dr. Walensky said her decision took into account people in close quarters with potential carriers.
Who might be unvaccinated, might be at high risk, and really the vulnerable occupations like our healthcare workers, our teachers, our public transportation.
Dr. Walensky says as the science continues to evolve, the recommendations may change to include more at-risk groups. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Massive cloud of ash prevented flights in and out of the Spanish island of La Palma for another day as molten rock continued to shoot high into the air from an erupting volcano. Thousands of people have evacuated after the volcano erupted a week ago. More than 400 buildings and homes have been destroyed. Scientists say the eruption could last for up to 3 months. There's a landmark for gender equality in Iceland. Fox's Karen McHugh explains.
For the first time in any North Atlantic nation, the people of Iceland have elected an all-female majority parliament, with women elected to 33 of the 63 seats. Sunday's ballot count also revealed that centrist parties made the biggest gains, with the center-right Independence Party taking the lion's share of the votes. In addition to mostly women taking the lead in governing the island nation of 350,000, this latest election resulted in the oldest and youngest lawmakers to ever take a seat. 72-year-old Tomas Tomasin, who owns a burger joint, and a 21-year-old law student, Lenya Rum Karim. Karen McHugh, Fox News.
Central Chiro, Fox News.
Do you have arm or hand pain that prevents a good night's sleep? Or do you drop things or have difficulty in holding or doing your usual daily activities? Then have Dr. Jerome Landstrom, a board-certified hand surgeon and combat veteran with over 25 years of experience in diagnosing and treating upper extremity and hand problems. Let him provide care to you and your loved ones. Call 671-646-HAND for an appointment and visit his website at www.pacifichandsurgery.com.
Always here to help you. This island is our home. Through the years, we've been a friend to the neighbors we have known. Now we're banking on the future. Their services to choose. Bank Pacific, where others put branches, we place roots.
Choosing health insurance for my family is difficult. I need to know our health insurance will protect us now and in the future. Take Care members have access to the island's largest offering of free fitness classes and health education programs, and a high-quality credentialed network of on- and off-island healthcare providers, including the convenient one-stop FHP Health Center and urgent care. My family choose Take Care. Your family should also consider choosing Take Care. Call 671-647-3526 for more information. Take Care, our island, your health plan.
I can't read what's up on the screen. Does it say APL American President Lines a global presence with a local home?
It does.
It does. Nice, nice. Oh, can you, Ismael is curious. There was, apparently we had just a few minutes ago, a thing up on the screen that was, or no, the song that was the commercial for Gasolina.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he apparently either really liked the voice of the guy in there or didn't. So I'm not sure. But anyway, so if you could take a look at that, that would be a groovy thing. 888-825-5888-TALK. And I think I might be. I think the screen is unstuck, right?
No, that's a Sheree.
No, I'm not
You're
moving. My head is moving, but on the actual screen on the Facebook Live and the YouTube thing, it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, Mona's was working though.
Mona's is working.
Yeah, I messaged you earlier, but
you did.
Yeah.
It's
Let
okay.
you know you were frozen, man.
Okay, well, no,
there you
they're
go.
not frozen anymore. See, I'm a broadcast professional. I'm capable of taking care of all kinds of crap here. It's 7 after 9 o'clock in the morning. Ray Gibson Show is being brought to you by the guys over at Chili's. And what new great thing have they got for you to try? Oftentimes we like to go eat in pairs, do we not? So the guys over at Chili's have got a thing. It's Chili's 2 for dining, a full-on meal deal, 2 for just $35. Now, what do you get for $35? So we start off with a couple of Cokes. You share an appetizer, and then bring on the entrees. And the guys over at Chili's know all about the sizzling personal fajitas. I believe they invented the concept of the personal fajita, mouthwatering honey chipotle steak and shrimp, or the world-famous fall-off-the-bones baby back ribs. Chili's 2 for dining, available for a limited time. You can get that in takeout as well, 648-7377. Place your to-go orders today. It's 8 after 9 o'clock in the morning. The Ray Gibson Show probably continues after, no, we're just going to what do we call it, the stinger in the business, and then back to the yak.
It's the Ray Gibson Show. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-825-55.
Down, yeah. 8 after 9 o'clock in the morning, and hope you appreciate the other view here of myself in my thing. My natural environment here is the broadcast studios of 93.3 The Point. My name is Ray, and was talking with a buddy of mine. It was so great. It's, passed by on the beach yesterday, and he was walking and talking with his other buddy, and he said, "Oh, good, Ray Gibson's here," and the guy's like, "Who's that?" He said, "This is Ray Gibson. This is the best guy on the radio on Guam, period." And I was like, man, that's just the nicest thing for me to hear. And he says, "You got to listen. This guy is brilliant in the morning, and not because it makes me feel better. It does, but do me a favor if you likewise could share your love and appreciation. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Appreciation for this show. By all means, hit the share button. Something on Facebook or YouTube or whatever you're watching, and let's see if we can just spread the word out. And it doesn't even have to be people that live here. It's all right if it's people that live here, because then we're all talking about the same stuff. Like, who's the jerk that dumped all that trash in MTM? Don't worry, my mayor's taking care of it. But somebody coming in my village and dumping trash. And I think somebody came to the village and dumped a dog at my house. Live.
Wow.
Live dog.
You feeding him now?
I'm not feeding that dog. Crap. My God. I'm going to get a ration of it, man. There's going to be people going, how come you're not feeding that dog? It's not my dog. Well, it lives under your truck. Well, I don't know why it lives under the truck. I didn't tell it to go under the truck. I mean, I think the weather kind of blew the dog into the neighborhood, and literally I got a dog underneath my truck in the neighborhood. Now, what do I do about it? The practical Ray Gibson said, well, just, maybe it'll go someplace else. Or some people would say, well, you just got to call Gain. I know Gain is full. That's, is going to be the problem. It's a nice dog. It looks like it's really scared of people, though. I think it got beaten by somebody before. Maybe that's why it's on a lamb hiding over at my place. But they said, well, just feed it. Don't worry about it. No, if I feed that dog, then it's mine. If it bites somebody, then I'm going to be responsible for it. You know what's going to happen? It's going to get run over. And I'm going to feel bad. People are going to go, oh, see, now you could have taken care of the dog. You could have adopted the dog.
It knows you, Ray. It smells your safety.
No. I'm one of the guys that it runs away from. Anyway, so that's one of the things that's in my head. 888-825-5888-TALK is a telephone number around these parts. Cousin Troy, you want to take the dog? White one.
If you are anything like my grandpa, and I think in many ways you are, he was a tough acting man and everything, would act like he was going to shoo the dog away, but he'll end up feeding it. You'll end up feeding that dog, Ray.
And I throw leftovers out into the yard for the chickens and the birds, but I don't throw them out of the and the neighbor dogs, the neighbors' dogs will come for a walk and they'll check out my house because they know I throw scraps out. So they'll always come and sometimes they leave a deposit over at my place as well. But I love my neighbors, so that's cool. But I don't know where this dog come from. That's the thing. Anyway, 9:12 in the morning is my cousin Troy's on the line, and Lee Weber wrote about you two as well in today's Guam Daily Post.
I saw that. Yeah, pretty cool. I love it.
But he said you were kind of revengey.
That's cool. At least in the beginning, that was the honest to God truth. I'm not going to deny that.
No, absolutely not going to deny. There's people who screwed you over and didn't realize that you knew your way around a microphone and a camera, and you had at your beck and call somebody like Johnny Rosario. But it isn't it. Yeah, I liked it because he spelled my name correctly in the editorial, so I'm just leave that there. But making clear the distinction, I think, whether or not I am a journalist or a hard news guy, I think is barely up for any kind of conversation. I am an entertainer. I am a personality on the radio. That's what I do. News happens to form the foundation of what I do here on the radio. So having said that, if you can keep that distinction fresh in your head, that's all right. He says, then there's Candid News, who, in this writer's opinion at times, is more of a revenge seeker than a news reporter. That said, Candid generally digs deeper than any other so-called news organization, but also mixes in entertainment with their reporting. Again, confusing the public. I don't know to what degree it confuses the public as much as it's like getting the news like in face-to-face. Sometimes I think that's the way people feel about your broadcasts or your forays into social media. Here's Cousin Troy. I know a thing or two. I asked a bunch of questions. Here's the answers, and we'll encapsulate that. I don't need to be on a set to do it. I don't need to have a fancy background to do it. I got one, but I don't need it. Do you suppose, just for the sake of belly button observation here, navel gazing, as it were, are you a journalist? Do you think that you were a journalist? Do you think that the craft of journalism and hard news has changed because of social media?
Well, first of all, I'm not a journalist, and up until very recently, I was not calling myself a professional, and I had not been since I left the governor's office. And so, let's just start with that, right? And he's right that Candid began on a platform of revenge. I had no idea we would be where we are today. No clue, did not plan it, nothing. It just sort of happened. And, thanks to our supporters and our viewers. But are people confused? I think some people would be, because we're not delivering the news the way the other news stations are. And it's been that way they've been delivering the news that way for quite some time, and we're doing something different. So I think for some people it would be confusing. For most people, it's not confusing, I think.
Do you? Well, I mean, and do you suppose that that's more accessible? I mean, look, if people want to find out what's going on, they might want some chapter and verse, and some more of an investigative feel. And I think Candid does that. And we take advantage of the relationship as often as we possibly can here, because me, I'm lazy. But do you think that I don't know, maybe a Goldilocks version of this? Is there not enough news, too much, or just right when it comes to Candid?
I mean, I guess it all depends on your constitution for life. I mean, do you want to hear us rant about corruption? I mean, do you want the rants about corruption? Because we'll play that out.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the Red Jeep case, we just beat that till it was a dead horse.
Oh my God! Yeah, well, and there's more of those that need to be done. I think there's a couple of interesting ones that you and even the mustache Klitsky is watching, where it comes to just who is in charge of what property. We're putting a wastewater treatment plant, and then of course there's a new story that you're covering on Candid that I think is interesting, just because we know the players involved, where there looks like there could be some monkey business afoot on what's happening with monies that are going to be specific to a lot of road construction and reconstruction here on Guam. I mean, it's no secret that there's going to be a whole lot. We got from Marine Corps Drive, from over where the old Pizza Hut is, all the way up north to the airport. I know that they want to get work done on San Antonio, and there's plenty of other places where there's going to be work. And now concerns expressed on Candid that there might have been some arbitrary decisions made on who would get to manage those funds.
Yeah, well, we're told from several different sources on both sides of that issue that there's a much bigger story afoot here, and we're trying to get into it. We're trying to dig into it and see where the facts take us. But yes, to answer your question, there's more than enough news. We just happen to focus ourselves on the things we care about, which is corruption, crimes against women and children, things of that nature.
Crimes against women and children, to be sure. There's other kind of rampant forms of crime here, and I think it's kind of interesting that while we like to say that we're going to go out there and actively fight crime, it's clear from at least Jimmy Craig Moylan's reviews and his research. Don't need to be a journalist to ask questions. Jimmy's been asking questions about the executive security detail over at the governor's office, and if we really cared about catching the bad guys and keeping Guam safer, maybe we would be taking more of those guys off executive security and put them in one of the 20 new squad cars they got last week.
So Crystal Pappas-Augustine is asserting that the senator has taken the numbers far out of context. So what we did this weekend with FOIA, the chief of police, for all of the timesheets, for all of the pay periods during fiscal year 2020, when his officers were on the executive security, we want to see those numbers ourselves, see where the fluctuations are. Was any sick leave that was paid counted toward that $2 million, and how many officers were on the beat during what shift? And we want to dive into that. We want to see whether is Senator Moylan right that this is just such wasteful spending, or is Crystal right that the senator took the numbers far out of context?
No, this is easy. Whether context in or out of context, it doesn't make any difference. There's significant actual overtime going on. So never mind whether we've got 20 guys doing this or 2 guys doing it. We've got significant overtime. So there needs to be some kind of just easy management oversight of what's happening with executive security to eliminate that overtime. Otherwise, guys start to think that's part of their salary. And the overtime is a totally avoidable cost. So we can fight over all day long whether or not we're taking it in, quote, context of COVID-19. The fact of the matter is there's a lot of overtime, and overtime is always avoidable.
Yes. Well, and in the case of the Guam Police Department, which should be at a force of 500 police officers, was for a while at a force of about 310, 320. Now it's below, or for the past couple of years, it's been below 300 because of the rate of attrition. Those overtime costs, unless they recruit and retain, are unavoidable unless you just let calls of crime go unanswered.
I'm sure we're nowhere near that, but it's still kind of ugly. We need more people to get this problem solved. But as long as it's convenient to be paying into all of that overtime, and for the guys that are getting it, they ain't going to complain. And I think that's an inappropriate use of tax dollars over the longer term.
It sure would be. Yeah, I agree. That's why we want to see those documents.
Yep. All right. Well, you go have a good time with that. I'm going to let you run. You have a fantastic Monday, and we'll be looking for you. Anybody interesting going to be talking about corruption up in CNMI?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I was going to plug it. So at 10, it's the Guam Keto Show with Ken Leon Guerrero, and right after the Guam Keto Show, we're going to go live again and cover a hearing in the House chamber, open up right hand, and it's their version of John Benevienti. Eric Camacho is the head of the Commonwealth Utilities Commission, and some interesting allegations that we understand about the governor using taxpayer funds to fund power and water for various different households.
Oh my God!
Hiding them under fake accounts.
Oh my God! I mean that's just obvious. I mean that's my old man always said never steal less than $1 million. You know, because otherwise you're gonna get busted for it, and it's gonna look petty. At least $1 million heist is something respectable. You can feel that one a little bit better. But in this case, we're talking about these guys. Basically, it's pilfering. It's almost pilfering. It sounds like it's a pilfering charge, right? What'd you do? I stole from the people to pay my power and water bill. You know,
well,
it just sounds kind of small time and petty. Like, look, if you're gonna be a crook all the way.
No, you have to consider that for the governor's personal residence, in 1 month alone, he had a power and water bill of $16,000.
How much?
$16,000.
So that's every air conditioner on. That's every light blazing in the thing. That's was a couple of big freezers for the fish that he catches on the DPW or the DPS boat.
It was mostly water. It was mostly water. 233 gallons of water used in 1 month. And the backstory is that he at least had the largest piggery in the Marianas in his backyard, and it wasn't in his restroom. It was a real piggery.
Oh my God!
That was pig.
Yeah. As I said, it just makes you look petty when you steal nickels and dimes like that. 922. Cuz I'll talk to you pretty soon.
Okay, you guys have a good day.
I will. I promise. I'm gonna have an incredible day. Well, it's my plan so far. For the most part, it's worked. I'm frozen on one camera, but this camera's working, and that's all you need to see from this vantage point. This is one of those cameras you buy from the Amazon.
Yeah.
And they're inexpensive, but the problem is they add 20 pounds, not the usual 10. That's
is
the
true.
point
You're
here.
way skinnier than
I think
that camera's
is this
showing me.
Nostradamus of the Pacific here?
It is, sir.
Brother Patrick, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning, Ray. Buenas.
Buenas.
I'm kind of like, I don't understand the mission of Candid. They want to address corruption in the Northern Marianas. Saipan, they should be focused on the corruption here in Guam.
Oh, they are.
Because,
okay. Let me defend my cuz. I'm going to defend my cuz here. And that's blood, bro. That's not. I'm not just calling him cuz because, a couple of kids from Guam, that's actual blood. Because we had his great-grandmother, great-grandmother, and my grandmother were sisters. Anyway. Wait. Was it uncle? Anyway, so here's the thing. It's Uncle Enos. Mana will correct me. But we're all in the family. Having said that, here's the deal. Is Candid is looking at the corruption up in Saipan a lot. Number one, he's got connections there. Number two, because it's easy. You want to talk about low-hanging fruit? It's right there, and you don't have to do anything other than put a camera up at their legislature while they're having these hearings. A little bit more buried is the corruption here on Guam. So he's just showing what's easy right now. He is looking into corruption and questionable activities being conducted by members of the governor's hierarchy.
Well, it's Guam corruption that affects all other countries and island nations. So that's why he should focus on Guam corruption more than Saipan corruption. Because I think when he focuses on Saipan corruption, he's taking away the pressing issue here in Guam. So he should stop reporting people who post on his page, because I was put on suspension for 3 days because somebody complained when I posted my information in Candid.
Yep.
Even Facebook showed me where the complaint came from. So any in Candid and to call it home. Okay? Not light, but darkness. Because he's not looking for the light of truth. He's dwelling the darkness of corruption and whatnot.
Okay, if you say so. Let's move on.
Yeah, but
Let's move on. You've been on. Okay, because I'm already tired of that topic. Can we move
on? Well, anyway, I just posted a link, right? I just posted a link a few minutes ago. You should look at your website. It's something of great concern.
Okay.
Hey, there's the title of what I put is what do you call that? Is here's why no one on the planet should have received a COVID-19 shot. Okay, it's an ongoing lawsuit, okay, to try to address the corruption with Big Pharma and whatnot. What's going on in this pandemic is nothing but a scheme, and what's worse, it's something in the direction of a genocide, okay, a Holocaust. So this is what the people of Guam are not aware about, because we have a governor who's not a leader, but a misleader, okay, of facts surrounding COVID-19. She doesn't know the truth about COVID-19. I don't know who's giving her all this misinformation. She has to get the truth.
She got those doctors, Physicians Advisory Group. Okay, you went there, so I got to go. I am not one of those. I'm sorry. There's a degree to which the tinfoil hat fits, and then there's a degree to which the tinfoil hat flies away in the breeze of the conspiracy theories. I'm not one of those guys that buys the idea that the vaccine is some kind of wholesale antichrist, world scale, world planet killing genocide. I don't believe that's the case. I'm not nuts about the speed with which it goes to market. I'm not nuts about the seemingly worldwide testing that goes on. Yeah, they couldn't get enough rats to test this on, so they're testing it on human beings in real time. I am curious about many of the known side effects of the jabs, and those concern me. Because the side effects of the jabs, in my estimation here, are probably more lethal and going to end up being more of an inconvenience, I think, should I get them, than actually getting COVID-19. That's honest to God, part of the way I feel. Why do I need to take this vaccine? Well, it'll protect you. If you get COVID-19 and you end up in the hospital. Oh, what if I get COVID-19 and not end up in the hospital? What if I just have a lousy weekend? What if it's wait, I've already had a couple of those. Maybe this is it's the thing that might put me down for a few days. Might even have to call Chris Duenas to come and do the show. That guy, right? But I don't think, knock on wood, right? I don't think that's going to happen to me. Yeah, I'm not super athlete. I went hiking over the weekend and didn't fall down off a cliff or anything like that. It's not like I was huffing and puffing all the way up the hills down in God's country, Magat Talafofu. It's so nice up there. I found a cave that I was and I know my limits, right? So I did not spelunk.
Oh, nice.
I like that word, spelunk. It's a good word.
Made it out.
No problem. No problem. I've got I'm not on a reasonably good version of the keto diet, but I will say that I have been attempting to modify my intake. Last time I had, I was going to say, man, I haven't had rice in forever, but I had Jamaican Grill on Friday night. You remember we were talking to Frank?
Yes.
Yeah.
That would do it.
So the flavors in my head all day. So I go out and I finish my work and I go hang out with my boys, and then it got to be dinner time. I'm like, dude, there's a Jamaican Grill right there. And everybody in my crew was like, it's a good idea. Let's go chew on some ribs. And we did. So I treated myself to some red rice in there. But I swear to God, that's the last of the rice that I had. Last night, 2 pork chops and a salad.
Oh, nice.
Also, 12 Michelob Ultras with 2.8 grams of carbs in it.
It paired well.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So I'm just saying, a reasonably good approach to being able to feed myself and take care of myself. So why risk the possibility of getting these side effects? They're going to say, well, the chances are minimal. I said, just as minimal as the chance that I'll get COVID-19. So leave me alone. So I don't know. I did have an interesting moment here today with brother Dr. Nate Berg, who is in the studio. And I know from watching and reading the comments, he was on about 7:40, guys. So if you want to go and review the tape at 7:40 and see the comments that were coming back and forth about 7:40, that would be a good thing. But not for Dr. Berg. I don't know why, but it is as though people are going, he's speaking with forked tongue. He's carrying the water for the governor. We want straight talking Nate Berg. We want Nate Berg to say, yeah, I've got, and this is not going to happen. I'm not trying to defend the guy. I'm just saying, this is my thoughts off the top of my head. Dr. Nate Berg is probably not getting paid any extra to be the chairman of the Physicians Advisory Group. I wanted him to go in, and I think you did too, and because it hasn't happened yet, everybody's like, hey, that Nate Berg, he's in league with Adelup. I know. What I wanted him to do when he got in there was go in and go, okay. Let's have a line drawn down the middle of COVID-19, and let's talk about what's real and what's BS. How much of this is based on reality? How much of this is based on a power grab? How much of this is based on the egos of certain other MDs that might have been involved, or the egos of other politicians that might have been involved, and say, okay, well, look, I'm here now. I'm here. And Ray trusts me, and many other doctors trust me, and all of my patients trust me. So I'm going to draw the BS line down here, and anything that is not to the right of it, we don't talk about. Oh, look, here's some facts and figures that go towards reopening the island and shutting down the public health emergency. And admit it. You're mad because he hasn't done it yet. You go, wait a second, Cabrera's out, you're in. How come we haven't opened up the schools 100% face-to-face, blah, 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 blah. And the answer is because there are people on the other side of COVID-19 who have their own facts and figures, and they have their own COVID-19 anti-vax memes. They've got their own videos with their own conspiracy theories, usually pointed right at Trumpers and right-wing guys and hillbillies and all of that stuff. So there's two sides to all of this. I don't know where the BS is on either side, but that's the fact of the matter. And somebody's got to ride somewhere around the middle. I know it can't be me, because I know how I feel about this stuff. I think COVID-19 is an insult to anybody that can think. I mean, it's Nicki Minaj, right? Is that who I had up on the screen before?
No, that's bad girl Riri. It's Rihanna.
Oh, Rihanna.
Yeah.
Love that shirt, though.
Oh, yeah.
Think, it says, while it's still legal.
Yes.
Which side of the COVID-19 battle do you think that she's on? Right? And there it is. Maybe that's the effective use of that word here. The COVID-19 battle. Maybe that's the way it needs to be described, because there are two sides down to this. And battle now becomes an appropriate word. It's 9:33. Have you seen Australia, baby? Have you seen Australia? Now, we were Thursday when you sent me a link, I think.
Yeah.
You sent me, so Real Joe sends me a thing, and it's a video of these guys, a bunch of construction workers that have had it, and the guys they even had it out with their union in the streets. Any other protest, you got the cops would be out there with pepper spray and water cannons and riot gear that they've got. But for these guys, the cops kind of held their place because they knew that it would be a bloody rumble when they got into it. Well, that wasn't always the case. There was another protest video that I saw, I think it was Saturday, where there were a bunch of people that protested. Cops said, no, this is an illegal protest, and they're walking through the streets of this town, and, every block they'd walk, they'd get another 100 people filling in what was originally a fairly small protest that turned into something huge. And then the cops did what they probably shouldn't have ought to done, because they were so far peaceful, and the cops corralled them. The cops corralled them. And that just pissed everybody off. There was a resident in the area, if I recall the story in the media correctly, a resident opened up a side gate that allowed people to spill out over this, causing the cops to meet now on the other side of that gate, a crowd of hundreds now running towards the flank, and it was ugly. It was ugly. There were these guys, like I said, were just so ticked off about the potential for a new kind of lockdown or vaccination requirements that they just went off on the police, and the cops completely unprepared for some of that, and dozens of them sent to the hospital. I don't want anything like that, obviously, to happen here. But the question, and in fact, Jerry Roberts brought it up. We probably would have spent more time talking about it had we not needed to go to Berg. But Jerry Roberts was looking at that and saying, I wonder if, and again, dark side conspiratorial thoughts, I wonder if that's the test bed, if Australia is the test bed to see just how far the authorities can take things before the crowds become just absolutely unglued. And it doesn't look like they're all that far from where we are. Will there be something like that? You know, the conversation over the weekend, I'd love to read some of the responses. I might do that before it gets to B10. But read some of the responses of people that had seen the Guam Daily Post story on Facebook about testing of the kids in the schools. And how many moms and dads saying, whoa, hey, well, what kind of testing are we talking about? And here's the thing, is it's not really prescribed in the documentation that I've seen. Granted, now, I haven't read every letter of it. I'm going to, because it's interesting. But the sideline question is, okay, well, so we're going to take a bunch of kids and we're going to test them. Is parental consent required? Yeah, it is. What happens if the parents don't consent? What happens then? And that's kind of one of the things that I'm looking for in the deal right now. And what kind of test are the kids going to be given? And what happens to the kid and the kid's education if they come out positive? Okay, what if they come out positive and they're unvaccinated? What if they come out positive and they're vaccinated? There's all of this, there's a cloud of question marks just on the issue. But getting around to the beginning of it, I don't understand why we have to do it. Everybody says that we're not getting the spread into school. Everybody says, and the data seems to support. And I think based on this morning's gaggle of newspapers I've been reading, there's still nothing concrete out there that says the kids are making each other sick. Where'd you get that? I was hanging around with my casino cousin over the weekend. You know, the one that's always got a runny nose and he never wears shoes? Yeah, I was hanging around with him, and maybe he got it, and now he give it to me. Okay. All right. But anyway, we'll change the subject just because I want to. It's 9:37 in the morning. Come back with a quick break and just tell you about one of the more entertaining stories that comes from the magistrate report. That's next.
Hey, Jack. Uh-huh. Is it true Jack in the Box has breakfast all day?
That's why we call it all-day breakfast.
And all night?
Yep.
Early evenings?
You're so close to getting it. All-day breakfast with freshly cracked eggs. Only at Jack in the Box.
Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959, and they'll continue to be there for you in the years to come. Whether you're looking to get a personal loan for that summer staycation or paying off those long overdue bills, Family Finance has got you covered. Apply for a personal loan from $1,000 up to $3,900 by calling Family Finance. Agana 475-4545, Upper Tumon at 647-5626, or in Dededo at 633-4473. Family Finance, serving the people of Guam since 1959.
It's the $60 family platter combo at Applebee's to go. You get your choice of boneless wings or mozzarella sticks, a large house salad, and a choice from one of these platters. The St. Louis Ribs family platter, the miso salmon family platter, the island pork chop platter, the pot roast family platter, and the salmon Alfredo family platter. Can't dine in? No problem. Order the $60 family platter by calling Applebee's at 648-2337. Applebee's, open Sunday to Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Thursday to Saturday from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m.
All right, my goal in life is to make the 2022 Nissan Pathfinder the fastest car ever to sell out at Nissan Guam, and you can help me. You can help me. Don't you want to help me? Come on to me as my advertisers. Help me, help them. This is what they've got, 2022 Nissan Pathfinder. And maybe you've already seen one or two of the new ones on the road, and you're going, ooh, I like that. And you said, does that come in a two-tone? Yeah, you can get two-tone on that. You know what it's got that I really like is the number of great conveniences on this. And you're going to go, yeah, but does it have a big engine? Yeah, engine's big enough. Does it have enough power? Yeah, it's plenty of power. What about 9-speed transmission? Can we get that? Yeah. Super Bose radio? Yeah, you got it. But it's got a couple of other great conveniences that I like. There is a place in the center console, a little doofy, a little hole, and you put your iPhone or your Samsung in there, and it will start charging. It's got a near-field charger built into the car, right? Bluetooth, so it'll already sync up with the car once you got all of that stuff programmed. And this station, in fact, all of our stations sound absolutely great on your Apple CarPlay. So it's got that. But it's also got a thing called a puddle light. Do you know what's that? All right. So let's say you got a car door. Underneath the car door, there's a light, so that you don't step accidentally into a puddle that you don't see. That's it. Isn't that great?
No more wet, sorry.
That's it. So I'm, if for no other reason, it meets the required number of cool gizmos in your new car, and you can get it at a great price. And talk to the guys about putting together a spectacular deal on your Nissan 2022 Pathfinder. Gibson Show, 888-825-5888-TALK. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about it? You don't have to. You don't have to. I'm just saying, you can if you want to. It's not one of those programs where I'm going to die if I don't get any phone calls. I'm perfectly capable of entertaining myself. All I need is the occasional giggle from Real Joe, and I might get that one with this. Now, I don't know just how clean it is. Have you seen this, Real Joe?
I don't know which version this one is. I've seen a few.
It's a Mad Lib and the one from the Avengers, where you get the Hulk going after the guy, and the guy says, "I'm a god," and he's like, "What's a god?" And just smacks him bang 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 on the floor. Apparently they've done that to a degree with it's Indolecio, is that right? And the governor. In a quick little conversation. Let me see if I can play this thing. Now, there's going to be some words in Chamorro which may or may not be curse words, and if they are curse words, I don't speak Chamorro that well, so I'm just going to let this thing play. Okay, go ahead. Okay, all that buildup and nothing, but it's a great picture, right?
I'll still laugh, Ray.
You'll still laugh?
Yes,
but it's funny. I don't know. Even this part here, man, it plays on my phone.
Yeah,
okay.
The internet's wicked weird today.
Yeah, I know it. I know it. All right, we'll work through. I'll try. I'll reboot something and see if I can get that back up on the screen. What is all this crap that I'm surfing for these days? This is the important stuff. Before I get carried away with myself, National Football League scores, and it's about time that somebody in a morning show brought it to you. There's finals. In the world, the National Football League, it looks like it was the Chargers over the Chiefs, 30-24. Cards beat the Jaguars, 31-19. Let me see. Broncos aced the Jets. I'll say it again. It was 26-0 with the Broncos beating them soundly. Game still going on right now, actually in overtime. It's the Dolphins and the Raiders, 28 apiece. Buccaneers over the Rams. No, other way around. Rams over the Bucks. It was 34-24. I got the Vikings 30 over the Seahawks. Oh, Keena. Both Keenas. There's one in the States and one here, and they're not happy when it's bad news for the Seahawks. Got beat by the Vikings by about 13 points here, 30-17. Are there other numbers that we need to look at? There's other games that are going to get played before too much longer. Let me see here. I got the Packers and the Niners. That's starting in about 40 minutes, and the Eagles and the Cowboys are going to be playing tomorrow, and then we go into the next week. So that's all we got for football for you right about now. If I missed anything, too bad. 888-8255-888-TALK. Hold on, this is what's messing me up here. Is I got to go to this instead of the other thing. Hi.
There you are.
You have a good weekend? You know who didn't have a good weekend? Albert Titauta. You know why Albert Titauta did not have a good weekend?
Gunshot holes?
He's the guy. On or about the 15th, about 5 o'clock in the morning, officers of GPD responded to a shooting complaint at a Denado barber shop. Officers interviewed Dave Cadavis, who both own and reside in the barber shop. Cops confirmed the unit consisted of 2 bedrooms, a bath, living room, kitchen, dining area, and the barber shop area. I'll bet Lolita Kamek could do something with that piece of property right there. They interviewed Dave, who indicated that he had awoken about 5 o'clock to a loud sound coming from the barbershop portion of their residence. He retrieved his registered firearm from the dresser and proceeded to the barbershop area. He observed that the shop lights were turned on. Dave also observed a male individual removing coins from the cash register. Oh, my God. Okay, this. Remember I was telling you about the never steal less than $1 million? Because you just look petty when you do it. That's the thing here. Is number one, you're snagging coins out of the barber shop till. Is that worth getting a hole in your stomach for? No. Male individual later identified as Albert Tidtau. Dave called out to the defendant, "Stop it and leave." In response, the defendant rushed toward Dave with what he believed to be a pistol in his hand. Dave pointed his firearm at the defendant and pulled the trigger. I may get my haircuts from there now. Dave instructed his wife to call the cops. Officers arrived on the scene, observed the defendant lying on the floor with a hole in his chest. Officers also observed a crowbar near the body of the defendant. They determined that the defendant had used the crowbar to pry open the typhoon shutters in the glass door to gain entry. The defendant transported to the hospital, treated, later released. And you know how this works, real Joe, is the second they sign you out at the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Bracelets.
You get the ride.
Yeah. Okay, Bert. Hey, Bert. Hey, Bert, you're coming with us here. Defendant, and remember I'd asked Paul Tapau about this. I said, any chance the cops might have had run-ins with this guy before? The defendant is also on parole. For burglary is a second-degree felony and theft is a third, wherein the defendant was sentenced to a 10-year term of incarceration.
Wow.
And they put him on parole.
Lucky he got shot, man. He would have killed that dude.
Right?
To stay out of jail, yeah.
And so he's being charged now with burglary as a second-degree felony, intent to commit theft, et cetera, et cetera. We'll watch where this goes because obviously it's interesting to me because this might be the most clear-cut example of the Castle Doctrine in a while. Right? So we've got, and I would say superseding indictment, AG, is home invasion because it wasn't just the barber shop he broke into. He broke into their residence. So I'd say throw an additional charge of home invasion on top of the burglary charge, and let's have this guy go back in for another 10 years, and no more parole. No more parole. This guy must have paroled the guy because it's not like they just go, okay, you're paroled, bye.
Oh, no, yeah.
No, there's you got to write a 1,000-word essay or something,
Letters
right?
from other friends,
essay,
colleagues, and
mayors. I don't know. He's paid his debt to society. He's sort of almost done his time, and maybe he's changed his ways. Look at him. He got a nice haircut. He doesn't have the Depresso haircut. He went. They took him out long enough.
Wearing the scapular,
right?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, the scapular.
Yeah.
9:48 and change. Hi, Ray Gibson Show until it's not going to be anymore. Celebrity birthdays. Former Senator Jesse Anderson Lahan.
Oh, happy birthday.
Got a birthday today. And then there's, it's like 5 really hot chicks that I don't really know.
Oh, yeah.
But they're in my birthday announcement, so happy birthday to you guys.
5 hot chicks.
Meatloaf turned 74 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Meatloaf, of course. Meatloaf worked with a guy, 70s and 80s, a guy named Jim Steinman. And it's worth looking up on your Spotify or Apple Music or whatever. Look up an album called Bad for Good. Came out 81, 82, something like that. If you like Meatloaf music, anything that sounds like it belongs in the Streets of Fire soundtrack, that's the guy that invented that sound. And nobody does it better than he does. Rock and Roll Dreams Come True is the name of the song in particular that you're going for. I'll give you the name of another musical artist and suggest you don't go anywhere near him on Spotify. It's Sean Cassidy's 63rd birthday. Sean Cassidy, I think, was in the Hardy Boys.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Let me check with Dr. McNinch. Guarantee Hardy Boy viewer.
Hey, Hump Day Ray, Hump Day Guam. Is that David Cassidy's brother?
Yeah. David Cassidy, that's the claim to fame. Did a song back in the late '80s, and you were, I want to say wimp, but I'm not going to. It's a word that rhymes with Russie. You were a Russie if you listened to Da Do Run Run. If that came on the radio and you didn't change the station, then you were a total. Anyway, so he's 63 years old. From the Mindy Project and True Blood, Anna Camp is 39 years old. True Blood is the name of what I was looking for something that I could binge all over again. And I got to tell you, I really enjoyed True Blood on HBO.
Wow.
It's a vampire thing.
True Blood.
You've never seen? Oh, it's about a vampire. They're all vampires. There is vampires against fairies. Serious. It is. And there's a lot of boobies. Virtually every episode, Ron. I know it's not a big deal to you. For some people...
you're mentioning Meatloaf. I like Meatloaf, and I loved Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, you're absolutely right. He was the motorcycle guy in Rocky Horror Picture Show. Great way to launch his career, and has done a little bit of other acting. I want to say that he's been in other movies. And maybe even episodes of, I don't know, what's that, Don John, Miami Vice. Yeah, so Dennis Benzer's listening and is going to do a whole IMDb report on projects that the Meatloaf has been in. It's Hearing Aid Awareness Day. I don't wear a hearing aid, but I do have in-ear monitors that I got from Dr. Renee Kofand, and she can work that magic out for you. They got cool hearing aids now. I got Bluetooth-enabled hearing aids these days. World Tourism Day that nobody's going to be making a big deal about because there is no more tourism planet-wide. Nobody is going out. Everybody is staying home. We might spend a few bucks on an airplane ticket or a plane ride here between now and maybe New Year's and the Christmas holidays. But otherwise, that's it for tourism. It's also Banned Book Week. Okay. No, I'm just throwing that out to an educator because it seems to me that you have probably, especially among some of the lefty guys that lean over on you at the University of Guam, I'm sure there's guys up there that are going, yeah, well, it's a good book, but I'm not so sure about people shouldn't be reading Ayn Rand here.
Well, I just saw on Fox News, I guess yesterday, there are some school jurisdictions that use basically pornographic literature for middle school and elementary school students, and there was a big fuss about this in the U.S. mainland this past week. And there are long-standing fights over which books to include and which books not to include. Some of them are you wouldn't think twice about, but some of the literature now written for young people is very, very problematic. Mm-hmm. And I think that the parents need to keep an eye on it. And you can't always make sure. And by the way, I love libraries. I think libraries are great. I think that literature is great. But I think that also parents need to be aware of what their children are reading, and also getting on the internet and taking a look at.
Everything, whatever your kids are consuming these days, you've got to be wary of. And you're right. I think you and I'd run into the same stories. I want to say there's a school district in there that where they had a book that was actually as part of the curriculum that was teaching young boys how to orally pleasure older men. And then there was another one where the guy was actually took out actual pornography and used it in the teaching of the class. Fortunately, these guys were busted and the books had been discovered and pulled out there. But there's just so many people that will beg for forgiveness as opposed to asking for permission and just throwing the stuff in.
Right. Parents need to speak up and be involved with their children's education. And of all the silver linings of COVID, I think that becoming aware of what their children are seeing in school and knowing what they're learning is a big part of the process.
Here's the other part of this. I don't disagree, and I think one of the steps that has recently been taken by the Department of Public Health and Social Services is now going to require the involvement of every parent in the Guam school systems. They are going to be doing testing, case investigation, contact tracing, isolation, quarantine, and monitoring of COVID-19 positive individuals and contacts in the schools to include the students. What do you mean you're going to touch my boy? What do you mean you're going to test my little girl? How are you going to test my little girl? Am I going to be there when you do it? Who's allowed to do things like that? And we're not talking about surgery and scalpels here, but I tell you, if it's we're doing the COVID-19 Q-tip test, those are somewhat invasive. I don't know that I would like anybody to subject my kid to that.
Right. I've had probably 10 so far, and I think that one thing I am happy about in the last couple of days I read in the paper was they are shifting away from the CAR score, I think, a little bit. And I'm very happy about that, because I think that it was a good initiative, a good idea initially, but I think that we've gotten to the point where I don't think we need it as much anymore.
Well, it's I always felt that it was somebody's ego trip.
Well, I give them the benefit of the doubt. He was trying to help and trying to put a context a little bit. I'm not sure how much it did help, but I think that the intention was good. I think that they meant to do good things with it.
Okay, okay. Go on. Let me just pause there, because you're just yakking at me now, and you're throwing stuff, and I'm going. Here's a thing that we need to consider. Let's stop doing things because they're nice. Because it was, appreciate the effort, A++++. We're in a serious pandemic, and we're in the very serious part here, where never mind whether you live or die, whether you got COVID-19 or not. There's people wondering where they're going to get some money for food now that the PUA has run out, and the only thing we got coming maybe is the child tax credit. Doesn't do you any good if you don't have any kids. Or anybody that you're claiming as a dependent around here, and I think the last of it is going to be the All Rise money, which, as far as I know, is all the way out. We'd heard some news about the governor wanting to increase the cap on that or eliminating it completely, but I haven't seen any rubber hitting the road on that. So I think we need to concentrate as much as possible, very seriously now at this juncture of the pandemic, on how we can get real quick back to something that feels like normal. The fact that me and my unvaxxed brothers and sisters can't go into bars and restaurants might be making people at DPHSS and the governor's office feel good about themselves, but it does absolutely nothing for those businesses. Now, I'm not saying that the bars and the restaurants are having a hard time because I can't eat there. I'm saying the bars and restaurants are having a hard time because there's a lot of unvaxxed people that ain't going there and convincing their friends to go and just go get a 12-pack and drink at the beach. It's cheaper.
I hope some of our leaders start taking a look at the Denmark model for getting back on our feet and just saying the pandemic happened, we need to move on. And I think that given our current vaccination rate, I think that we've done very, very well. And sometimes the statistics published in the papers aren't really helpful, because people who are in the hospital and who happen to be vaccinated may have been in the hospital anyway, not necessarily just because of COVID. They might have been there regardless of what the reason was. And so sometimes statistics cannot lead us in the right directions, and we need to be careful with them.
Well, we also need to, as much as possible, as I have tried all of my career, to maintain as much of a decent reputation as possible. And anything that anybody had anything to do with the CAR score, the Cabrera score, you remember when we strived for 5 and nothing happened? Right? And when we were in the tenths of digits on the Cabrera score, as low as 0.4 one day, 0.2, I think, if we look at the record, and then nothing happened. And you sit there and you go, what metric is it that the governor or public health is going to look at that gives them some confidence, some guidance that it's time for us to think about making a Denmark move, making a Norway move? Is it Norway's the other one? Or making it, or it's Norway in my head because somebody mentioned they wanted to move there. It's that show. It's that.
Well, the Nordic countries in general are pretty good at this.
But you get the point that I'm trying to signal here, is that there was some credibility for a while, and then when nothing happens, and when we don't know what the score is supposed to be that takes it so that restrictions can be lifted, we don't know that. They don't tell us that. They just say, we're going to do this. We got something that rhymes, and we'll buy ads, and we'll put something on social media. And then when it's all finished, we still got Jack. We're still exactly in the same place that we are. So to that degree, if they never, ever use the CAR score again, I say great. I say wonderful. Nobody understood what it was all about anyway, and it didn't seem to have any relevance on anybody's life. So that's just me. Hey, I got to run, Ron. You going to run?
Hey, have a great week, sir.
I will, buddy. You have a terrific day as well. It's 9:59 and change. We may or may not have Fox News coming up live here in a second. We might just throw to a bunch of stuff. It's Monday on Guam, which means I've got the weekend programs that we're going to be playing for you. Some weekend bomb throwers, as it were. We'll get the conservative bomb throwers back on the radio tomorrow. In the meantime, well, yeah, like Tech Guy's going to be on. I love Tech Guy. I think he's great. We got what's his name? Doug Steffen's going to be doing the countdown. So you got stuff to keep you interested through the course of the morning. For Real Joe and Montesilva Tyrant and Jerry Roberts, my name is Ray Gibson. Thanks so much for listening. We'll get caught up tomorrow morning, hopefully without as many stutters and bumps as we had today. You have a terrific Monday. Talk to you.
Is an epidemiologist who worked for Johns Hopkins University in Kabul and has been stuck at Ramstein Air Base in Germany since August 30th. He volunteered to help the U.S. military vaccinate nearly 9,000 Afghan evacuees at Ramstein with the measles and chickenpox vaccine. Now the CDC says no flights can leave for the U.S. for 21 days.
If we are preventing infectious disease, from other hand, we may increase some kind of like the mental health status, probably increasing some kind of like anxiety, depression, or some other kind of things. So anyway, this is some kind of like CDC should take a look at like the risk-benefit issues.
Evacuees at Ramstein appear to have measles antibodies, suggesting they are immune, yet the CDC won't allow the flights to leave, further traumatizing the Afghan evacuees at Ramstein. For Military Matters at the Pentagon, Jennifer Griffin, Fox News.
Fox on the family home of Laundrie, who is a person of interest in the case.
The agents appear to write something down on a piece of paper before leaving a short time later with what appears to be a brown paper bag. Laundrie family attorney Stephen Berlino tells Fox News in a statement, quote, the FBI requested some personal items belonging to Brian Laundrie to assist them with DNA matching, and Brian's parents provided the FBI with what they could.
Fox's Charles Watson. Projections show that Germany's Social Democrats narrowly defeated